Yeah.
which are not actually opposing, but if there's a
complementary. Yeah. Next. Anything else?
We saw different attributes, and then seeing how that translates to Jeevan, body, and human, the composition.
Yes.
Then we talked about at individual, family, society and level, how we are currently like ignorant, and how it is proposed.
Right. Yes. What else?
हाँ नहीं है ना चाहिए थोड़ा उधर पुल करना देखो यहाँ
Feelings are in Jeevan and
यहाँ बैठ सकते हो सर या उधर
Make sure कोई भी स्पर्श पे ना वो स्टोन पे ना बैठे ठंड से।
इसको भी खींच लो इधर भी इसको भी खींच लो अनु इसको भी खींच लो
बॉटल पड़ी है किसी के वहाँ।
क्योंकि पॉली में वैसे कोई
Okay, what else? From yesterday we are recalling what we can recall. Now we have mics working. Pass the mic.
Well-being. Happiness, constant state of happiness and well-being.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. What else?
we talked about materialism, materialistic viewpoint and
Idealism.
idealistic and the how we are swinging between the two.
Right. That was
How-
before we started.
How this thing can anchor us.
Yes. So in the morning we started with the overview of the human journey, right? In which we talked about materialism and idealism. We looked at the contributions of both and the shortcomings of both. Then we did that 3 facts and 3 questions, and then we saw how these 3 questions have been answered in both. And then as an alternative, we proposed coexistentialism, right? And from there we started. We found out that 3 things to study, which will be: one is the study of the Jeevan, one is the study of the coexistential harmony, and third is the study of the ethical human conduct, right? So yesterday we started the study of the Jeevan, in which we were studying human being as a composite of Jeevan and body, right? So we saw that Jeevan is the unit of knowledge order. All decisions are made in the Jeevan. Jeevan is primary, body is secondary. And Jeevan is the one which runs the body or operates the body, right? A body is the tool for expression as well as learning for the Jeevan, right? All the decisions, whether they're regarding the Jeevan or regarding the body, are made in the conscious Jeevan. Then we saw the difference between the two, where one is Jeevan is immortal, body is mortal. Then we saw that Jeevan's needs are well-being, body's needs are facilities. There are many bodily journeys in the Jeevan, right? And then in the needs we saw that the needs of Jeevan are continuous. We always need it, whereas facilities are needed as per the need. So from time to time and in limited quantity. Jeevan, you can't quantify it, we call it unlimited happiness, right? Then after this comparison, we concluded that the needs of the conscious Jeevan have to be fulfilled and the need of the body has to be fulfilled. So both happiness as well as facilities are required. And fulfilling the conscious needs will not fulfill the bodily needs. And fulfilling the bodily needs will not fulfill the conscious needs. So both have to be independently addressed. Right? Both have to be taken care of. So that was the summary of the, yes.
Is there an order proposed by Bhattacharya about the facilities and well-being? Or both are simultaneous?
What do you mean by order? I mean, sequences.
I mean, not like, for example, unless until basic facility, basic part of the need, which is food, shelter, and clothing, are addressed. We were talking about that the higher need, the next need will not arise. Is that what? Because that's being proposed by Marshall. So I'm just trying to see whether that's something coming here as well.
So actually, if you look at it carefully, on the surface it seems like that. But and lot of samples you see where till the time basic needs are fulfilled, people don't look for the other thing. It seems like that, but it is not so. Because conscious is primarily, so even whatever amount of facilities you might have, more or less, the conscious needs dominate the decisions that we make. They drive us. So Drishta has done research on this thesis for her post-graduation. She did a comparison, did a study of this based on Madhyas Darshan as well as Maslow's table. And in that it concludes. Drishta, you only speak about this. Pass the mic to her. Sandeep, mic there.
So it wasn't to test the Maslow theory at all, but one of the observations was that there was no particular order in which the needs were felt more or less. And I had surveyed across 2 different cultures, so North America and India, and across urban, rural, rich, poor, male, female, age-wise. And it just turned out that there is no particular order like Maslow predicts on first having met certain needs and then only feeling other needs. And besides that, also interestingly, it turned out everyone, no matter, if that was the most astonishing finding, everyone, no matter how rich, how poor, how young, old, Indian, American, wherever, had the same amount of needs felt. The physiological needs were almost the same and they weren't very high. It was very constant. It did not change with any of the factors.
Take the other mic there. Pass this one.
So, Drishta,
Maybe the connection. That's what. Yeah.
Okay.
Use the other mic.
so Drishta, when you say that physiological need was predominant,
Not predominant.
Pass the mic to Drishta. Pass the mic. Yeah.
The physiological need wasn't predominant, it was just constant. It was not affected by anything, it was not high. It was as if, it was basically, no matter who you are, where you are, it didn't bother. So my questions that I was asking was, how much have you been troubled by the lack of this in the last 1 month? Something like that, I had phrased it. And everyone, it was very low. And it was very steady. No one had been troubled by it more than anyone else, no matter how much resources they had, and it wasn't very much. They weren't very troubled by it. So everyone had various degrees of being troubled by other needs, by Maslow's classification or by the Madhyas Darshan classification. But this was constant in both, across both surveys of Maslow as well as Madhyas Darshan, and across all demographic variables.
So, but her research is a very small thing, just an indicator which needs to be verified by others also. Right? And the sample is also from a certain class of people who are accessible, who will do such surveys and things like that.
No, I went on the roads also.
Say, what are you saying?
I did road surveys also. I went and spoke to very rural people on the roads and asked them and filled it up based on what they were saying and things like that. But yeah, it's still small.
Madhyas Darshan is saying conscious needs. When you were saying that Madhyas Darshan says conscious needs dominates
are predominant. So they take primacy over others. So like, for example, if you are upset, it's a very common day-to-day life. If you are upset, you stop eating food or something like that. Whereas the need in the body is regular, constant. But people, teenagers especially, can go without food for a long time. I've done so that's like. Huh?
Could you please tell us about Madhyasth version?
That is what I've been telling you all this time. This another. In the beginning, I had
The
mentioned.
coexistence with the nature.
Madhyasth Darshan is the name of the philosophy on which Jeevan Vidya is based. Jeevan Vidya is the name of this program which we do. This workshop style program. This is called Jeevan Vidya program. Or in Hindi, Jeevan Vidya Shivir. Right? So it is all the content is Madhyasth Darshan philosophy's content. Like we did materialism philosophy or idealistic philosophy, coexistentialism, which I gave the English name, it is named for the Madhyasth Darshan.
What do those two? Darshan, I know what it means. Madhyasth means what?
Balancing.
Balance.
Philosophy of living in balance.
There was something you yesterday said about agitation.
Yes.
When you're in harmony with
Yeah.
your mind and body
Yeah.
itself, so maybe you said in context with evidence. So one of the evidences that you're in harmony and in full clarity is that you will not feel agitated.
True.
So that's one of the evidences.
Right. We'll talk about it now. That's where we left last evening. So we will start. Siddharth wants to say something? No, you like to hold the mic. Okay. So, yeah, that was a good summary of what we had talked about yesterday. So, moving on from there, this is the last slide that we saw yesterday. Right? So, the conclusion was the lack of education about the conscious needs in humans has resulted in beliefs and practices where humans keep trying to be happy through acquiring and consuming material facilities. Basically, body's interactions is equal to happiness. This equation is deep settled in our heads, in our minds, in our conscious. The need of lasting happiness, which originates from the conscious aspect of humans, can be identified properly and addressed fully through the study of humans in harmonious coexistence. Study of harmonious coexistence, when completed, enables the person to fulfill their needs for lasting happiness by living on the basis of humanness in relationships, family, society, and planet. And when we say it is able to fulfill the lasting happiness, then the facilities are taken care of there also. That we had done in the previous slide we had talked about. Okay. So, 2-3 things I wanted to talk about today after yesterday evening's discussion. So, one is this excited, agitated state and the normal state. And so, is happiness an excited state? Because a lot of conversation which was going on, the basis of which was like as if this what we call pleasure or joy or something like that. That seems like something exciting. Like Rishabh mentioned, like somebody who's always happy would look like a madman, right? So yeah, if he's jumping around what we think, or is having a party, or like very excited, that kind of state will look like madman if that's what is happening all the time. Right? So what is happiness? We'll examine first what is happening with us right now, and then we'll see what we are talking about happiness. Right? So right now, there are two kinds of excitements that we experience. One which is a high and a low, right? And this high and low are associated with especially the high is associated with certain kind of sensations in the feel, right? So when we eat something nice, it gives us a high. We look at something nice, we do something, we travel, so many things are there, right? So we hear something, good music we are listening to, that also gives a kind of a high. So we think this high is a state of happiness. But and this you must check for yourself also, verify for yourself also. Whenever you feel a high, it doesn't stay there for too long, you come back. Right? It doesn't last too long. So when it comes back, you make some more effort, maybe one high, then another high. This gives us a feeling of, okay, I'm happy, I had some nice breakfast, now I'll have a good conversation, then I'll do some nice work, then I'll go watch a movie or something like that. So we try to live a life in which we keep getting such highs. So we try to pack them together to give us a feeling of continuous happiness. Right? So that is what we are trying. Also in our lives, there are lows because of various reasons. Maybe our expectation is not being fulfilled, what we imagined is not happening, whatever reason. And these lows also are things which don't stay for too long. So the statement here we are making is, no excited state lasts, whether it's the low state or a high. Eventually, it changes. For sometimes some incidents changes immediately, or maybe it will take a short while, but it changes. So you won't always stay in these states, either this or that, high or a low. Right? So that's why we have times when we're feeling low, and when we come out of it, then we start rethinking things and we try to replan our life so that we don't go there, feel like that. So this keeps on happening in our life. Now this high, because it is through a bodily sensation, our means of enjoyment is the body. And enjoyment, when we say enjoyment, like a bunch of friends are meeting, or say somebody got a promotion, or say it is a birthday, like Sandeep Bhai's birthday is today. Right? So one could celebrate. But our ways of celebration are all excitements, right? Somebody's wedding, or whatever. Child is born, you get to know, no? That there is some function taking place somewhere. So in that state, we do certain things. So one thing before I go explaining this further, one big thing which needs to be established is that our basic ability as the conscious unit, we are human beings, and at the core of human being is the Jeevan. And the Jeevan's, the most core ability is observation. From the first breath to the last breath, we are observers. Right? And what we observe depends on the level of our awareness. Right? So we are observers. So observing is our main activity as conscious. Right? And
can you fill in that line? Observation depending on level of awareness.
Level of awareness, I mean, like a child is not aware of many things. I had given one example yesterday, like somebody who has awareness about, say, various plants. So when he or she walks through, say, a green field, will be able to identify various things, and because he or she can observe it. Whereas if I don't have the understanding, awareness, then I will not be able to identify it. Okay? So observation, whenever observation is hampered, that means we are interfering with our fundamental functioning. That we have to understand first. So our well-being cannot be associated with the hampered observation. This is something to understand. Our well-being cannot be a state of hampered observation, or distorted observation, or diminished observation. Our well-being will be with full observation. Because that is what the ability to observe. We said no. The consciousness is ability to see myself and see the other. This awareness of self and the awareness of the other. This comes from the observation. It's able to observe self. You can see your thoughts, your feelings all the time. And you can also see the other person's actions, and you make a judgment of whether or guess on how the person is, what the person is thinking, how they are feeling. Right? This is part of our observation of day-to-day living.
Yes. So which means that if any of the relationship, if any of the relationship is not in harmony, then that is a distorted state.
We'll come to that. That's in the function of the relationship. I'm just talking about one person right now. Okay, let's stick to that. And because what I'm trying to explain is this, we'll come to that context and talk about that. Yes.
I mean,
Use the mic. Use the mic.
in excited state,
Yeah, yeah.
in excited state, our observation is hampered.
Yes. That is what that's where I was.
Excited and low.
Yeah. Both are excited states. Low state, high state. This is also excitement, this is also excitement. So, let's take examples from our real life. Remember when you were celebrating something or enjoying something, I mean, I remember when we were in college or something, that's a very basic example I'm giving. So we used to play basketball and our team won a big tournament. So we were in kind of an excited state for 2 hours. And we were dancing on the road in IIT and in the hostel and where not, everywhere. And how it was affecting others, what impact we were having on others, we couldn't observe, we couldn't see. Like we were in the middle of the road and the traffic was stopped and we were dancing because we beat in the Delhi University team and that was a big thing at that time. So we were very excited, very happy. Feeling. But our observations of ourselves and observation of the other was missing. Right? This is what happens in the excited state. That is one point to be. Right?
So Bhaiya, here observation and consciousness are synonyms.
So the consciousness is basically awareness, right? And there are levels of awareness, right? So optimum awareness is when we are in the normal state, not in the excited state. We are still conscious when we are excited, but our observation goes up.
But if we
Use the mic. Use the mic. Give it the other mic. This one troubles you. See? Turn it on, whether it's one.
Yeah.
if we continuously, like many people must have tried it, like you continuously make a like high state the whole day, the whole year.
Yeah.
But like that time we are happy, on that moment we are happy, then after that also we are happy. But then why doesn't, continuously if you are doing it also, why doesn't it result to always happiness?
Good question. So this is what one needs to understand. So because this high is coming from some sensation. Sensations can result from some activity and also can result from some thoughts and feelings. Our body, our mind or our brain also responds to certain feelings by secreting certain hormones. And these hormones gives a certain kind of sensation, and that is the high that we feel.
No,
Right.
I'm not talking about that one, like which when we go to watch a movie and
Right.
that is
Right.
different. But like when you're talking to, like suppose I'm talking to Mama and I'm feeling very happy, very excited while I'm happy and we both are laughing. Like it's not, we're doing it in a normal way only, not like some grand thing and we're doing
Right.
it. We're at home and we're doing it. But that also, if I continuously keep on talking to her the whole day or talking, maybe I'm bored of talking to her, I go talk to someone else. Like that only, I keep on doing stuff which are not materialistically like that, but if you even do stuff with someone else, with yourself also, like that, when you're excited, why doesn't it last long? Even if it's not a wrong thing.
Right. So, first of all, we are not saying whether it is doing it materialistic or doing the way you are saying. Is anything is wrong, we are not saying that. We are just pointing out it's a high and there can be a low also. When it doesn't last, it can go to a low also. Then you start missing such conversations at times. Then you feel low. Like mother has gone somewhere and you are alone and you're missing her. Then you start, where is my mother? And
Yeah, that's
things
what,
like
like that excitement like reaches to some low
Yes.
most of the times.
Yeah.
But why does that happen?
Because any excitement will not last. That is the nature of excitement, first of all. That is one point, not the total point. But the first point is any excitement, it's a peak. It has to come down. Okay. But since we think my well-being is in that peak, so I keep striving for those peaks. And when they don't happen, I miss them. That takes me to the low. This is very common day-to-day life. Right? So we are seeking highs. Right? And when the high doesn't happen according to our expectation, we might go into a low. And the stronger we are seeking it, the deeper that low can be. More you miss, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? Veda, you want to say something? Take the mic. I'm coming to that part also. Yes, but you say what you want to say.
I thought I understood her question a little differently. You can clarify. I thought she was saying that when I'm in my normal state and I'm having a conversation with my mother and I'm liking it, we're in a normal state, so we're able to have normal observation. Why does after a while that become not as enjoyable? I'm not sure. I thought that's what I understood.
No,
That is
she
one
qualified.
part of my question. The other part was like, see, normal state.
Give her the mic, please. We have two mics, no?
Yeah.
The conversation we are having when we are in a normal state,
Yeah.
even though it is for a long time, it still we are having it normally. But in like other situations, what happens? Both of us are very excited and over high, and then we talk, and then also we are having fun. But why doesn't even if she is sitting right next to me, after like a certain time, it doesn't feel that like.
Yeah.
Not that mama goes away.
Yeah, I understand. Like friends are there together joking. So initially it's very enjoyable. I'm cracking one joke, you're cracking one joke, we are both laughing a lot. After some time, that same activity doesn't give us that fun.
Yeah.
Right? So the same thing happens with so many things.
And then the conversation me and suppose another friend is having in a normal state, we keep on talking about something.
Yeah.
In a normal state, neither are we too excited, neither are we in a low state, but that lasts
Exactly.
till whenever, and we don't even miss that.
Yeah. So because we have assumed that fun is in the peak, in the excited state. This association is there in our minds. So we seek it. When you seek something and you don't get it, then you miss it. Right? And for that you have to make special effort. Yeah. And sometimes that effort is successful, that gives you a sense of achievement, so that there is a high. Sometimes you don't achieve it, then gives you a sense of defeat, that's a low. Right? So again, like in the philosophical thing, we were swinging like this, here we are swinging like this. This is the state of our man. Yes, please.
Like when I first did the Jeevan Vidya, I was like, wow, I know something here. But that was just that's what I was talking about yesterday. I felt a super excited feeling, and I didn't really understand that was not, I felt like, wow, imagine if I felt this all the time.
Yeah.
And then when the Jeevan Vidya ended, I was like, wow, how can I keep this? And at the end of Jeevan Vidya, I was still feeling super excited about learning something new. But then when I went home and it started trickling away, then I went into a very low state. And I was like, wow, I shouldn't know anything, and I felt really like depressed with that. Then I was talking to my mom and my parents actually, both of them, about different stuff, and I got some clarification, and that clarification kept me in the normal state, and that actually felt much more happy and much more desirable actually than the excited state. So I was like, wow, that's actually not the place I want to be. I want to be in this normal state where I really understand things.
So, yes.
I think we will.
So, where the point you're holding is, just hold it from above.
So I think we will talk about the 3 kinds of happiness also.
Yes.
So that will also address it.
Right. Yes, on this side.
These high state, low state and normal state is we are able to distinguish. And as I look back in my life, not everyone is as expressive as the other person, and sometimes it may be hard for someone to know whether that person is in a high state or a low state. And when I look just by myself, and also this level setting is because it's inside, it's all the states only I can see within myself. I mean, from outside I can see, okay, some person dancing, somewhere dhola, some high music or things like that. But if I look inside, I'm just trying to understand for myself as the life has passed till now, what would be my criteria? How would I know I'm in a normal state or not? Like for example, most of the times we feel grieved or depressed or sad, and we still continue doing our chores or work, go to school, but still unhappy inside. Sometimes when I look at my states, a little bit on the high side, but not very high also. Of course, the aha moments are very easy to distinguish when you get a certain percentage of marks or you get some achievement. I may not be dancing, but I have still felt happier than the normal state. So I'm just trying to understand within myself, how would I level set this? When would I know I am in normal state or high state or low state? Without the body expressions.
So I'll definitely address that. But let me start with first thing is that our association with our well-being or our happiness is the high. That is the first thing we have to identify. And when we are not in a high, we don't think we are in a happy state.
Sorry, repeat it again, please.
We associate our happiness with the high state. And when we are not in a high, we don't consider to be ourselves to be happy. And then you make statements like, let's do something exciting. Things are boring. You have to do something exciting. Right? Because happiness is equal to high. That's what we are seeking. So we don't want to be in any other state except for a high. So we perpetually are seeking highs. This is what our day-to-day effort is, to get some sort of a high. And high doesn't mean that we have to do some substance or something like that. It is by activities, it's by actions, it's by thoughts, it's by doing anything. But we are seeking a high. That is the main thing. Right? Give her the mic, please.
Have we assumed that like being happy is on a high state? Even if we are on a normal state, we think that we are not happy, and that we think that if we are on the high state, then only we are considered to be happy. When we, I think, when we eat the same food, suppose like we are eating some our favorite food like puri chole or something.
Yeah.
If we if we are expecting that, oh, I wanted to eat puri chole and I'm going to eat it, then it's a different thing.
Yeah.
Or you came inside and then you just wanted to fill your stomach and you got puri chole.
Yeah.
both are two things, but they are giving the same thing, the same food, but they are giving two different feelings.
Right. So where is the feeling coming from? From the puri chole or our expectation? When we are feeling, this is my favorite, I'm really craving for it. Then I see puri chole and then I go eat it. That's when you get the high, no?
Yeah.
So it is coming from my belief, my expectation, my association with that. So it's a conditioning I have in my head.
Yeah, I have observed it.
Yes. So I'll come to you guys. Wait. I'll just first address this part which has been said. Otherwise, something will be lost. Sandeep has asked a question. Then we'll come to this. Right? And Alifia's question is not fully addressed. She's just associated this part first. So we think of happiness as a state of high, and we are continuously striving for that, which takes a lot of effort. One. And because the nature of excitement is that it can never be lasting, so it comes down, so we miss it also. So sometimes highs, when they're over, become the cause for lows. So you go on a high, then you come to a low. Then you do something, go to a high, then you again come to a low. So this is what is happening. We never come to the normal state. In fact, when you're coming down, your maximum momentum is at the time when you reach the normal. If you understand graphs, you have the maximum momentum at the middle line when you're coming up. And you go and stop at the low, and then you go up again like this. So you're never in a normal state. So our life is fluctuating, our state of, in Hindi we call it man. Man ki sthiti is just fluctuating from high to low. And slowly highs are less and lows are more. Right? So as the age goes, people just become more and more habituated in staying lows and craving for highs. We have to do something more. Another thing which is there, because this high is also associated with a sensation in the body, it is the nature of the body that something which gives it a high the first time, the second time, once it gets used to it, it doesn't give the same high. Like the example you said, right? Or yesterday when Ashok was talking about the alcohol. So first time you take this much will make you giddy. And if you have that much regularly, then the quantity will increase to get the same high. Then some people, the stages, even if they drink the whole bottle, they don't get the same giddiness. Because the bodies get used to it. So then what do? Then this activity has stopped giving you high because you have overexposed yourself to it. So you change that. So you look for something new. You start looking for a new high. Okay. So maybe eating is not giving us pleasure. Let's do some travel. Or let's go do bungee jumping. So people who do these kind of things also become adrenaline junkies. Till the time the adrenaline hits them, they don't feel good. So they are doing it. Like there is beer here nearby and you can go and do the paragliding. Now paragliding is very exciting, very nice it feels. So you go and it gives a good high. But you don't do it alone. You don't take the parachute and jump off from there. No. There is a person who assists you. And that person is doing from morning to night the same thing. It is not giving him any highs. So high is not there in the activity. It is in our association with that, how we perceive it. And another example for teenagers, when you get infatuated with somebody, right? So just mere the sight of that person gives us a high. But the same person and different person, the different person is observing the same person. There is no high there. It is coming from our association, our assumptions or our faith or our belief or our conditioning. This is what is leading to that state. That has to be understood. Okay, that was one point.
Just a clarification on
Yes,
this.
yes.
Our association, our perception, which is both mind and
and body.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So perception will be mind, and habits, and the impacts of those will be in our body, the body's habits, right? So now this is happening. The good thing to observe here is, in a state of a high or a state of flow, our awareness of our own thoughts and feelings is diminished.
Please go ahead.
In a state of a high or a state of a low, both are excited state, our level of awareness and therefore our observations are diminished. So we can't see what are we feeling exactly. We are not able to evaluate our thought process properly in these excited states. So somebody is in a depressive state, for example. So if you ever try to console a person who is in a depressive state, whatever you say is turned around to mean that only. Because we are not able to evaluate properly in that state. Okay. Similarly, somebody is like enjoying themselves, like having a party or something, and they're making a lot of. Try and go and explain to them, don't make noise. You see how much they're able to understand. And I myself have seen this in myself. When I'm excited, I'm not able to listen properly. Right? Like Sheila and I sometimes have a shouting match, like all husband and wives. And I'm not listening to her. And I'm trying to explain in that state to her. And she's trying to explain to me in that. We both don't remember that, at least I don't remember, I don't know about her, that whatever I'm saying in this state actually is not thought out well. So I'm just saying rubbish. And I'm not listening to her. That is the state of excitement. But later on, I catch on to the words which have been said in this excited state and carry them on for life. But you said this.
Clarification here, excitement.
Mike.
Low excitement is agitation? No, that's
Yes. Excitement is, now I'm defining excitement. Those examples which I gave earlier were to bring you to this point that there is a state of high and a low. Now I'm redefining. So a normal state is where optimal awareness and observation is taking place. And excitement is when there is distortion or diminished observation and awareness. Now we are defining it on basis of awareness.
Please define again.
When optimum of observation and awareness is there, that is the normal state. When diminished or distorted observation and awareness is there, that is the excitement state.
Slight objection to
Yes.
what you just mentioned.
Yes.
I personally feel in the normal state, it depends on the person's what they consider normal to be able, there is potential for observation. There is total potential for observation in the normal state. But if a person has assigned normal as a low, because for them a high, they've plateaued on the high, in the normal state, they perceive normal state as a sad state.
Yeah.
So because of that, even though there is 100% potential for observation, it does not happen because they feel that normal state is a very blah, nothing's happening, because their mind is constantly thinking, this doesn't feel nice, and they're preoccupied with,
Yes.
even though it is a normal state.
So what we are saying is, now go back to the definition. Normal state is when we are doing optimal observation. So by that definition, what you're describing is not a normal state. This probably is a low state.
So you're saying that from straight away high, they are dipping into a low and okay, understood.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
low as in it may not be an intensifying low,
Yeah.
but it's a with
Yeah.
a red dotted line. And that's
something like that.
okay.
Normal low.
But I'm coming to you. I have one more point to make. More point to make. Dishna, you also want to say something?
You make
No, first let me finish. So we need the example of this normal state, right? To associate with, right? So the most interesting thing is we all are in a normal state right now.
Huh? We are all in a
Normal state right now.
Hopefully.
You're listening, you're thinking, you can observe your thoughts, you can evaluate, you can see a question coming up. All this is happening within you. This is the state that we don't appreciate. This is the state that we do not seek. Whenever we are in such a state, we want to get away from it. So, does this state have the potential for lasting? It has. This state can last.
We remember these things because we are in normal state. Remember.
So this normal state we can last. But the excited state doesn't even have the potential to last infinitely. And we are seeking lasting states, continuity of things. So now you see the dilemma we are stuck in. Just because we have assumed that happiness is equal to excitement. First I have to go to Ashok. He is the waiting for me.
I keep swinging the mic.
Yes.
So then I have to speak.
That's why we do the morning excitement to pass the mic.
So, I have two questions.
Yeah,
It's not on.
Hello.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I have two questions. One is just now occurred. That you said that this is a normal state
Yeah.
where level of awareness is high. Now I associate with high concentration. Currently I'm in a higher concentration than normal. But if I sustain it very long, it's tiring for me somehow. I don't know why. That is my first question. Second is, so what I was trying to ask last evening, which got lost in a bad example. So basically what I was trying to understand, if I look at the high state or the low state, so if I reframe the question, or I'll take an example, let's say that chole bhature. So one is the sensation of eating chole bhature, one is the idea of eating chole bhature, right? Now the idea of eating chole bhature gives me, like for example, endorphin, some hormones are released in the body. So that high state and low state, are these just bodily sensations, or does something happen at the conscious level as well? So that I was trying to understand.
Yeah. So, in a human being, which is a composite of Jeevan and the body, everything has some part of the conscious and some part of the body. So, yes, when we associate something, that is the conscious, but that association, like if you think of something very nice or something, it just by the mere act of thinking about something can excite you. And that will lead to the secretion of those associated hormones. Right? So, mind has an impact on the body. Similarly, body also has an impact on the mind. Until the time you come into control of your mind, then you can regulate the body. Okay? Because the decision making is in the mind. Right now we don't have the control over our body, therefore body takes control of us at a lot of times. Or our associations with the body take control of us. Other factors. The control is always with the Jeevan, but Jeevan identifies itself as body, and that takes over control.
So, if I look at the idea of meditation or the practice of meditation, so the idea of chole bhature, the idea of alcohol gives me high. Some endorphins are released in the body. Now, with the same mind, if I observe those things or sensations happening in my body, I can come into that normal state. My level of awareness is higher. So, with the same mind, mind is.
Mind doesn't. One Jeevan, no? Same Jeevan can do many
So
functions.
the same Jeevan is putting me in a high state, and same Jeevan is putting me in a normal state.
And this is a function of my level of awareness, my level of understanding.
Then why the first part is happening? Because if the requirement of
What is the first part?
first, for example, I thought of something. It gave me a high.
Give him the other mic. This one.
So when I thought of something, it gave me a high.
Yeah.
Then with the same mind, I observed those sensations. Then I came back to the normal.
In the high, you don't observe much. You just do whatever you associate with the high.
But it has happened. No? Like for example, if
No, you have perceived it wrongly.
Please, let him talk. Let him talk. And when you want to respond, but respond to me. No problem. Yes.
so like there are always some emotions or some hormones being released in the body. Like
Emotions are in the Jeevan, hormones are in the body.
what is the cause and what is the effect? Effect is the hormones and cause is the emotions.
Both can happen. From a physical activity, some emotions can happen. From an event, physical event. And from an emotional state, you can do something. Both happen every day.
So in this scenario where I thought of something, I got into a high state, then I immediately became aware that what's happening.
No awareness in a high. That's what I'm saying again and again. There is no awareness in a high.
No awareness,
No awareness. A very low, or let's say zero, I would say zero, but very low awareness because it's distorted. Distorted state.
But then it happened to me. So you're saying that when I became aware of that emotion, so I was already in a normal state.
You don't become aware of that, you just enjoy that moment. There is no awareness about it.
So even if I'm observing my sensation, I'm in a high state.
I'm saying in a high state there is no observation. Observation is afterwards. These two don't exist together.
1 second.
So if I become angry, I have observed that sometimes, like when I become angry or not that angry, but some agitation, I've observed some kind of uthal-puthal in my body. So now you are saying that cannot happen.
So you see something happening in your body. Your heart rate is increasing.
Yeah,
Or something.
that
Some part is. But can you observe why are you becoming angry? And that this is anger actually.
Can I?
No,
There is
but the heart rate part.
Can I?
There is
Please. Yeah, sorry. Yes, you what?
I think what Arpan is talking about.
Hey, this one.
This won't reach.
This one will reach. And this is the shortest one. Yeah, this has got it.
I think what Arpan is talking about
Yes.
is a practice, right? It's not that you were always able to observe when you got angry. Someone gave you this input that when you start to get angry, you can choose to observe yourself and slowly that will bring you back down to calmness. So it's a practice probably that you have done. That's how it's happened with me at least. When I get agitated, because I've done the work beforehand, I can, with the little bit of consciousness that I have, I can draw my attention to the fact that I'm not normal now. And just by doing that, I become a little less excited. And in that capacity, because I've practiced this and because I've drawn my attention to it earlier, as you probably have, as a lot of people have, you can start observing yourself more. It can become a practice of getting yourself back to normal because you're practicing this action of observation. So that on its own brings you slowly back to normal. So maybe that's what you're talking about, and you're able to do that because you have consciously put in the work and you practiced it. This is my assumption. You can correct me.
Yeah, Rita.
For example, as a
Huh?
The first question.
What was the first part? I thought it was. Huh?
No, the high concentration. Basically, if I remain in the state of awareness for very long, it is tiring because it requires.
Because it is a excited state.
No, like
Please
now you said
turn the mic on.
You turn on the mic.
I was talking about the normal state. You can't
Yeah, no,
sustain
you said that currently we are in a normal state because we are listening very intensely to you.
Not intensely, no.
I'm
Optimal observation is taking.
yeah, but even after the workshop, I feel a bit tired.
So feeling tired can be of many. We are sitting in the room for all the time, but if the process of learning, suppose I am learning, there might be many people who are trying to learn this. Learning process doesn't tire. In fact, it energizes. When you're learning, you want to learn more and more and more. There are limits of the body which tell you, okay, I can't sit any longer, I can't stay any longer because body is getting tired. So you take a break, and then you come back. But because you're enjoying the learning, therefore you come back.
Body is getting tired. Consciousness.
Let's say I'm a glider, it's an exciting thing, so I choose gliding, right?
Yeah.
So while I'm gliding, it is a high, and hence I'm choosing that, right? But in that moment when I'm gliding, there is an element of observation, otherwise I'm going to hit the ground. So I am kind of observing so many different things. Even let's take gliding away, let's take something that's very relatable to most of us, not all. Driving, for example, let's say I love fast cars and I'm like, so there is observation. So I don't know, and even with lows, by the way, like when I'm like really low about something, I am observing my thoughts and hence I'm feeling low. Because I'm dwelling it with my thoughts constantly, I'm not able to come back up or to normal because I'm like observing my thoughts all the time. So observation.
So now just go back to the definition. How did we define it?
Define
With
what?
the optimal observation. It is, I'm not talking about any activity. If you are able to observe yourself and the others, then you are in a normal state. If the observation is getting distorted or getting diminished, then you are in an excited state, high or low. So if you are doing gliding and still able to observe, that's a normal state. It's
but
not the
I am
activity.
feeling high also, no? Like the whole adrenaline rush is there, and like let's say I'm driving the car really fast. I know, there's a whole excitement around it, and yet I'm putting the gears properly. I'm using so both are coexisting. Observation is also there. In fact, a lot of optimal observation. If not, it's like gone in 2 seconds. So there's optimal observation also and amazing high also. So how does that?
So I would not call it optimal observation, but partial observation. But one thing I'll add now, I'll add to the definition. So, keeping a sight of your purpose in life, keeping inside the purpose of your life, living, meaning of life, and keeping the purpose of human being inside. If that is with you, then you are in a normal state. Otherwise, you are in outside. So you might be observing how you're handling this and what you're doing or what is happening downstairs, some sort of observation. But the deeper meanings of things are not there with you like that. So a normal state is a state where our purpose is within us. Even this non-excited state, so-called, why do we want to get away from it? Because we don't feel the purpose. That's why we feel the boredom. The definition of boredom is loss of sight of purpose. When purpose is not clear to us, that is when we feel bored. When the purpose is clear to us, we'll be striving to achieve it. So it's got to do with the purpose. And the purpose, till now we have practiced individual or small group. Now we are talking the purpose has to be can be the collective. Wait, she's been waiting for a long time. Just address that? Okay. Yes. Turn it on.
So, like the state of high, can you explain it like I want to travel somewhere, like a trip. So I am making all the plans, getting the things, packing. So like I am very much excited in that process. Like I'm on total like high. So and it's happening.
Yeah.
The day where I'm traveling has come.
Yeah.
So I think that the actual thing is happening, but that's not a high state because I'm taking an auto, I'm taking a bus. I'm like seeing around, I have to like interact with people. So all that process is normal. But that high up, what you meant is like, it's only that moment where you like do all the, you are thinking and seeing like you are
So you are focused. And this is what I think Arpan was also talking about, that you're in a high state when you're studying something or doing something, when you're very highly focused, right? So now that with the dialogue with Rekha, we are redefining the state of normal now. So if the purpose is in your sight, that is the normal. The awareness of the purpose.
Are you trying to say that doesn't matter what activity you're doing?
Yes.
Whatever activity you're doing, उसमें आपका मन कैसा है? That मतलब defines it's high, low. It depends on how you are thinking about it, right?
The man kaisa hai is a result. It is not defining. Defining is, since you are an observer, an aware entity, the closest thing to you has to be your purpose. So if your purpose is clear to you and you are aware of that purpose, then you evaluate everything inside of that. No. So why am I doing this will also be there. So if you feel it serves your purpose to do paragliding, you do it. If it doesn't serve your purpose, the purpose is the purpose clear to me.
So it still doesn't matter in what you are doing.
Yes.
It just the purpose is what.
Yes.
matters.
So you anchor yourself in the purpose. That is being in the moment.
So it doesn't matter where you are, what you are doing.
Yes.
That you don't need a particular environment.
Yes. So in fact, it changes in the sense now that the purpose is always in your sight, or it is in sight in this moment. So you will fine tune whatever you're doing to be in alignment with that. Because you are aware of the purpose. You will not ignore it now. So what am I doing? What am I eating? What am I doing? How I am going? Everything you start evaluating on this basis. Then you may work out a plan. How will I achieve this? Given the constraints of present circumstances, what is the best way to achieve my purpose? So it will become a educated approach to life.
I think it's I think from earlier also from what Vidya said and from what she's sharing now also, I think that whether we recognize it or not, we always have some purpose with which we are doing all our activities. And if you trace it, so like earlier she was talking about having a conversation with her mother, and I was thinking about my conversation with my friend when we're normal and we're observing each other and it's tiring me or it's tiring her. Our purpose, maybe, if I trace it back, maybe the purpose of the conversation is not to understand each other, is to receive some attention or comfort or something, and we're not getting it, so it gets tiring. But earlier when I was thinking about it, I was thinking that it's also tiring because I'm not able to see what I'm supposed to do in this situation, and that takes me back to what Drishta was saying about resolution, equaling happiness, and to know what to do in what to do in every situation is what gives you a state of happiness, and I'm not able to do that. So even in that supposedly normal state, I'm not normal because I don't have sight of a purpose, the purpose that would fulfill both of us, and also that because I'm interacting with her and being unable to resolve something, or even if I'm not expressing it overtly, in my mind there is a lack of normality because I'm getting frustrated at not knowing what to do.
Yes.
Does it work in the same way for children, like under 7, 8 at least? Like it is not working.
It's working. Keep it closer.
Yeah. So.
The sound is coming.
Yeah.
No.
It's like
Yeah. So I see maybe children are not in that higher state or lower state. Under 8, 9 at least, I think so. This is what my observation is. So does it work exactly the same way for them?
Children can be in high lows too.
But
even babies.
Yeah, but the way we are for longer stays or maybe.
Their excitement doesn't last too long.
Yeah.
Their excitement doesn't last too long. They come down from their highs and lows very quickly. We hold on to them much longer.
Yeah. So something in the process we are doing wrong while raising them then. That
So-
it extends.
So we condition children to seek highs,
Yeah.
and that conditioning leads to them experiencing lows. That starts from the childhood, early childhood.
Yes.
Right? When we want to distract children who are crying, what do we do?
Straight away take the high
High.
one.
Yes. I remember Pashwa's thing, like during one of her conversations, earlier conversations with her, she said like whenever her children used to cry also, she used to enjoy that state also. Like she couldn't go and stuff. Not enjoy as it, not enjoy as it, but she used to see as it is. Pashwa, am I wrong? Or if you want to clarify.
I know exactly what she meant. I was just joking.
Not everyone will understand.
Yeah, but yes, not everybody understands. So maybe she can
Yeah.
give up what she meant.
I was just saying that when they were upset, like they weren't trying to distract themselves. Actually.
Yeah.
Even when they're really small babies don't try and eat chocolate or look at something else.
Right.
They're just fully in that emotion.
Yes.
But if you stay with them with peace and presence, then they come down automatically, and I feel like some clarity comes in some kind of, rather than distract them, then it makes them feel maybe this is not good or I should create the other.
So you'd enjoy that process instead of the process that we're actually sad about something. Confused.
Take the Sandeep.
So this conversation has brought up a lot of things, and let me know if we can take it up offline as well. Several things have come to my mind, and they maybe I want to validate them. We started with the normal state as distinguishing from high and low, and then we redefined it, clarified it with becoming optimal observation.
Yeah.
From that, I concluded that observation happens in the Jeevan side. So this is a conscious entity defining those states, and it is only for myself, because for me level of, and then we clarified, redefined optimal observation done by Jeevan as the normal state. Later we said site of purpose. I will come to that later because I am still struggling with the optimal observation side.
Right.
So the Jeevan does the observation. The observation, I am assuming, can be of tangible entities or non-tangible entities. Is that right?
Yeah.
Maybe observing a situation, maybe observing someone's mood, maybe observing my mood, maybe observing my breath, maybe observing my sensations on my body.
Right.
During that state, my body can be in any state. For example, any state as in, like we took the example of heart rate becoming high or the breath becoming high.
Yeah.
Because when I did meditation, I am coming from that conditioning
that
whenever you are in a high or low state, your breath rate will change. But from what Drishta mentioned was, if you have done some work before, which I also am agreeing with, that if you have done a little bit of self-work before, even though your body is in a high BP state or high breath state, you can still pick up a little bit of that consciousness to come to that awareness that right now I am not in a normal state, so let me delay decision making. Or right now, just the fact that coming to terms with the fact that I am my observation is not optimal right now, so that will a little bit satisfy. But so what
Let me just say one thing here before you continue. So your body rate, like you're doing a workout, or you've just gone for a run, and you see somebody, your friend on the path. Now the body might be in an excited state. Mind might not be in excited.
True, that
distinction also we can observe. And this whole state is about the mind. All these states, highs and lows, we are talking about the mind.
Exactly. That's why I think the example when it was taken for paragliding or the parachuting, because sometimes even though I am in that state, I do not feel high. Like I am able to be normal. So that's where I've been struggling from my first question is since childhood, whenever I have noticed, I have mostly seen normal or low states. For me, I may have been some highs, but most of the time, whatever comes, I am able to observe. So the observation is again comparing with myself only. I cannot compare my observation with say somebody else's observation. Someone may be at a different level. So this is only within myself, for myself, by myself.
Yes.
And
So,
also over a period of life.
just a comment. My observation is a function of my level of awareness.
Right.
So if I'm aware of the fact that others also feel like me, I feel, so what they're feeling becomes important for me. If I'm not aware in that, only my feelings are important to me.
True. So that helps me a bit.
Yeah.
In other words, I just wanted to validate that even if my breath is moving high, I can be in a normal state if my awareness is high.
So
this is a bit different from what I used to be.
So this is what I was calling your Jeevan in being in control. So when at a lower level of awareness, we are very affected by our body. Like a small baby, slight discomfort will start crying. But slightly grown up, like we see Dugu, she got injection, she didn't cry. I'm sure it caused pain, it increased her heartbeat and everything. She did not cry. So some control has come. So the conscious is the primary thing, and now taking control of the body, making decisions for it with awareness. This is what mindfulness is all about, right?
Right. So now the next part which I need more clarification on is because the observation is tangible.
Yes.
I can relate to it, I have felt it, I can observe. My level of observation to the situation, to feelings, to physical conditions, to my body, to breath is something I can relate to.
Yeah.
But what is the sense of purpose? How do I be in that state? Maybe I'm working, but I am not able to relate to that. How does that happen? What comes to my mind is like a short-term goal. Like for example, if I have to go from here to quench a fire, or some situation has arisen, or go to Palampur. Is that my then purpose? Like that will be a goal of or an activity.
Yeah.
All the time my mind is on that. Okay, I have to take the car, I have to remember the 3 things I have to bring, I have to park somewhere, I have to stop.
Right, I got the example. What I'm saying is, do we live only in these incidents, or is there an overall thread to our life? I mean, these two states can occur. One can only live from event to event to event to event. That also a way of living life in humans. That's one level of awareness. Then we try to live in a continuity of some objective or goal that we have. Like for example, when I was a student, I wanted to go into a good college. So for that, for several years, we were working. I mean, all the events were tuned for getting into a college. Right? So there is a common thread which is connecting the events. But there have been stages in life when you don't have a common thread, you're just moving from one event to the other event to the other event to the other event. So these are what we call short-term purposes of goal. You will always have some purpose. But that purpose will be either short-term or long-term. It will be long-term, my purpose only, or my family purpose only, or long-term, the purpose of the human purpose. So these are different level of awareness. When I am only aware of my short-term things, that is one level of awareness. When I am aware of my long-term purpose, like for example, somebody wants to be rich, somebody wants to be a movie star, somebody wants to be a good sportsman. So they do a lot of things in their lives over several years to achieve that. So that is driving them. So those events are connected one by one to achieve. These are steps to achieve something. Right? Now that purpose is one kind of a purpose. Now a different kind of a purpose can be, okay, so what is the human goal? What is the human purpose? So I am saying till now the human goal has not been identified. If we take that, then all these other purposes come under it. So we become, but in the context of this conversation, the purpose, any long-term purpose, if that is in your sight, then you're in a relatively normal state. But to be fully normal state, the continuous awareness of the human purpose. That is the state of resolution which Veda was talking about, what Krishna mentioned. That's the clarity with which any situation you will be able to deal with without getting disturbed.
Yeah, theoretically I am able to relate to it.
Yeah.
I understood what you said. It is about short term versus long term and the state of the mind. But I am just trying to get to relate to the fact that you describe event versus threat.
Yes.
I'm still trying to get a handle on the threat. Which is the underlying threat? Because for me, when I take a real life example, like when going to the Palampur,
Let me take, because you and I have been associated closely for the last 1.5 years along.
Right.
So look at whether you were in Panipat, then you went to Choti, then you went to Nagpur, then you went closer to the house, then you came back to Panipat. Is this all happening, one event, second event, third event, fourth event, and there is no connection between them? What was the main thing that we kept on talking about? What is the thing which we need to keep inside?
Right. I understand.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to get at is that those decisions or these events that you mentioned arose out of the discussions I had with you.
But there was a need in you
Right.
for something. And to fulfill that need, all these decisions. I was just helping you make those decisions. But the need was yours. Right? And you achieved the result. So all those events which took place were threaded by this need.
It's a bit more intangible, so it's hard to get a handle on. The awareness and the observation one is more concrete so far. But I think over
Because
time
I'll talk with you about this a little later, because there are some personal things which we don't want to discuss here. So you'll connect. But the basic thing is the need was yours. And the main goal was to fulfill that need.
I want to
Yeah.
connect many points.
Yeah.
One was the point that even while we are in a high state, how are we able to remain focused and the paragliding and driving example, and the getting angry and alcohol and everything. So just to and it connects with what Trishta was saying, actually that brought it to my mind about practice. So when you're dealing with a depressed person, if they go through therapy or anger management or autistic children, right? How do we deal with them? How special education, how do we teach them anything? So we know that they are going to be either in a, they are many times in a low, then in autistic children may not be aware of the people around. So how do you teach? So we know that the anger will be on the high and the depression while the people will be in the low, but there will be a time when they will be in between. And at that time they are observers, right? At that time, if you can give an input, you can teach them to observe themselves, then that learning stays with one faculty of the mind, and then they are able to build on that. So I think we are thinking about how we are able to control ourselves while driving fast and all now in our adulthood. But if you see children, like you took the example of babies, they are not able to control. रो रहे हैं तो रो रहे हैं. Then we teach them whether to shift from that one excited state of anger or pain or something to another excited state of chocolate or party, or we can teach them that go from this excited state to an observant state. So I think what Pashwa's example is, at that time we are teaching them to be observers. And that, in that time, that learning takes place and it gets stored in one faculty of your mind, which will help you to cope with other, further excitatory. So, as much as we are able to train ourselves or teach ourselves or educate ourselves on being observant, we are able to regulate ourselves. The mind itself is able to regulate itself during the excited state, which is what I think Drishta was talking about practice, I think.
So this is how self-regulation starts. So for self-regulation, why purpose is important, this is how it is important. So this regulation will take place for whatever purpose they are identifying.
Yeah. And this also connects with the educational process. If you call it schooling or whether it's at home, it doesn't matter. But like if I talk about even the classroom, I can't teach a group of excited students or crying students or hurt students, right? They have to be in their normal state, then only I can teach them. Even I'm just talking about a very unnatural situation of a classroom, right? Even in that, if that teacher is successful and that teacher is popular or respected, the one who is able to bring the children into that normal state where they're able to learn and observe.
In fact, the best message, and we all have done this, around us, with our children, or if we've been involved with education, first thing is to calm down. We tell children to calm down, or whether it's a group of friends, if we want to talk something properly, then we need to calm down. So this calm down is basically bringing down the excited states.
Can that happen through observation?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's where Sandeep's point of focusing on breath or observing something that is happening internally brings us back to normal state.
Yeah, that is one technique. The technique I use is simply I ask this question to myself: am I observing myself?
As simple.
So just to summarize, to further clarification, so when we do some high adrenaline task or alcohol or meditation, we are going deep into vertically in a sense of awareness, but now we have redefined normal state. Normal state is when we are aware about everything, not just one particular thing, not just the breath, but everything, like zoomed out picture basically. Meditation is zoomed in picture. So
as best as we can at that level of awareness.
Yeah. So normal state is zoomed out picture, and what meditation does is it doesn't solve the purpose. It basically helps me. Zooming in is a practice which will help me zoom out later. Just
Stimulate.
Oops. I was just thinking that was a really simple example in our own lives that we probably all do. Because when we were listening in this session, sometimes we have a thought or an idea or something, and we get so excited by it, we actually blurt it out. Or we need to tell somebody. Yeah. And so, when we're actually really in a stable state, in a calm state, we will just wait for our turn. Yeah. But when we're agitated, when we're excited, we will just blurt it out. Yeah. So we'll often interrupt each other, actually, just because our thing suddenly seems so exciting or important that we have to say it. And I just see that kind of happening so much all the time. Actually, it's a really simple, everyday example that happens. And even in the group, if we're listening to other people, but we suddenly get this idea, we sometimes just have to share it with our neighbor or something, right? Yeah. So that's how the talking in the group starts, because we can't actually be quiet enough to just stay and listen. We're now so excited by our thought, we have to share it with somebody.
Yeah. Thanks
for getting excited and sharing it with us.
Yes.
I waited my turn.
So what should I say? There's a teacher in
person. So this teaching philosophy is when children come in the class, there's a very high energy. They start on a very high energy note, like there's singing and dancing, and they kind of release their energy, and then they start the day. So it starts with excitement, and then it is to bring them to normal state. Is it for that? Or?
I don't know why they do it,
Yeah.
but probably could be that because see there is some physical energy which we have, and at times it does interfere with our learning because, like for example, in school we make children sit from morning till afternoon, so they are fidgety, right? So if they do some physical thing, this probably will calm them down for a bit.
Okay, so with children it's different.
Yeah.
They have that bodily energy that
Yeah.
has to be released.
Yeah. Could be. I mean, I don't know for sure. We'll have to talk to that person why they do. So, yes, Samir.
Are we? Are we in a normal state of happiness when we plan things or?
So, planning takes place when we are planning and we are keeping things in mind, lot of things, all the things which we are aware of. Then that's a normal state. But sometimes we plan in a hurry also, like you were saying, when we speak in a hurry. Something excites us, I want to get it, so we plan for it. We are not aware of what is happening on the sides, what impact it will have, say. So you, like, suppose you want to go and play your game, right? And your friend comes and says, "Chalo, let's go." So you say, "Okay, my class will be over at this time, we'll go at this time." So you planned it, but you're not aware that you've not informed anyone, your parents or anybody else. So they will not know and this will cause a problem. So you're not fully aware at that time. So this is not a planning which is with awareness. So planning with awareness will be a normal state when we consider all the factors. Yes, ma'am.
I was thinking about God. I was thinking about an example where I was thinking about the excited states, the highs and the lows, and I thought that I should take your favorite example, food. So in food, when you imagine you go and eat a bunch of chips and lollipops, your mouth goes into an excited high. But then after you finish eating it, the high stays for a little bit, but then at the end, your body starts taking a little bit of impact from the chemicals or the toxins, and then you'll go into a low. But then you don't like the low, so you want to eat more chips and lollipops, and then it'll give you the high again. But as you keep eating chips and lollipops, they won't give you so much as a high because you're too used to it and it doesn't give you the same high. But your body will keep taking more impact, which makes you go into intensifying lows and diminishing highs. But and then you're not able to walk so well or breathe so well, and your body doesn't function at full capacity. Whereas if you eat a nutritious, healthy, balanced diet, and you eat a large amount of food which is nutritional and a good round of nutrients, then your body will feel fulfilled, it'll be peaceful, it won't have any lows, it won't have any highs, and then your body will be at full capacity, full functioning rate. Like you're able to think clearly when you're in a normal state, you're able to act clearly and you can play football or you can go for hikes, etc.
Right. Yes.
I wanted to ask about the flow state here. So, about people talk about flow states.
Flow state?
Yeah, what is this? So, flow state is, the way it is defined as, it's a normal state in which you are able to function perfectly as you should. I mean, whether you're learning something new, your brain is completely aware and you just grasp the concepts quickly. And I mean, you don't have to think about it, but you are also working in the perfect manner. I mean, basically your performance is at the optimum level, whatever you're doing. So let's say, I mean, it comes in all the aspects in life. Let's say a cricketer who is in a form of his life. So he's kind of in a flow state, so whatever shot he's playing, the alignment of the bat with the ball is going on perfectly. So he's in a flow state. So that's what I was thinking. I mean, whether it's a normal state or, I mean, but I mean, I don't know, where the question is coming from is, you said in the normal state, you're observing, but in the flow state you're functioning perfectly, but you're also not, thinking about things. So your awareness, either it's really, really fast or, yeah.
So, the way you describe the flow state, I think there would be observation, continuous observation. Right? So, yeah. So, like, for example, I'll take example of learning how to ride a bicycle. So, initially, you're very focused, right? You sit on the bicycle and you pedal, and suddenly there's imbalance. So, you put your foot down, and again you try it, and then so you're doing that. It takes some effort. Then slowly, after 2 days, you are able to go to a certain distance, right? And then say several years later, when you really, now it's like one part of you. You don't even think about, just sit on it and you reach the other point. So this is the things that we practice. There is the mind and the body are in harmony in that, and the mind is in tune with that situation. It doesn't require effort of conscious decision making. Those decisions have already been taken. If there is a bump or something there, you have to avoid it and move like this. But this is not a decision which initially when you're riding the bicycle, oh, there is a bump coming, I have to avoid it. It's not like that. It's automatic, right? So this getting used to an activity, it's part of that. It happens in everything. And that is a state of practice. After practice, this becomes part of you. This is a thing become part of you. So that state is there, yes. That state do occur, those states are there. When things which you are so used to doing, that becomes part of you. Like you look at people doing work, like my mother I used to see when she was cooking food, there was no effort in it. It was effortless, right? She was cutting vegetables, talking, directing so many things at the same time and doing that activity. Because she's so habituated in it, her mind and body are in tune. She's cutting vegetables, looking at me and telling me, do your homework and things like that. The things are happening at the same time. Right? So that kind of states are there for everybody. So not that depends where are we experiencing these states and what activities. So right now, our activities are basically limited around our personal areas of interest or occupation or some behavior. So the level of awareness are certain. That is what we are calling the domain of animal consciousness. When we take the human purpose, then this same thing we need to achieve in the human consciousness. Being aware of the purpose, being aware of the purpose of the relationship, being aware of the situations of the dynamics of collaboration and things like, and then becoming habituated in that becomes part of you, becomes automatic in you. So those we have not practiced, so there will be some effort required for further time.
I also see that observation and awareness are like actually available all the time. Like for example, like in school we see when children are coming to take food in the line, and a bunch of them come and they're all like excited talking about something, and they don't notice that they've come in between the line, or they've not noticed if they're coming for a second help. They've not noticed that there are people who haven't had their first help, and if we like pointed out to them, I mean even for us as adults also, if we pointed that hey, did you see that somebody hasn't even had their first help, or you didn't realize you just came in the middle. If that feedback is taken, then the possibility to be aware and to be observant in that moment it's available. It's always available. And I feel like feedback is there in our interactions, and we miss that feedback, and so it's I feel possibility is there all the time.
Yes.
To become aware.
Yes. So sometimes the feedback is available, sometimes feedback is not available. Some situations, right? Sometimes feedback is available, we do not receive it. That also. All those states are.
Yeah. How you receive that feedback, and
one of the best, one of the very important things in this is we receive the feedback for which we have got some sort of learning. Suppose being considerate to others. It's a learning, which it's educational conclusion that we have to do. If that has been drawn in us, then our unawareness, maybe we don't do it. But when somebody reminds us, because it is already there within us, we are able to see, oh sorry, oh, actually I forgot. Right? But if it is not there as a value within us, then what happens is, then the relevance we are not able to see. So a part of education is instilling these values, making them aware that this is being considerate is a value. Then the receptivity to feedback is much better. But where this value is not there, try to give the feedback. And you get a reaction.
Could it be possible that the value is not there? Because these are, I feel like it's also something that one is also like seeking or wanting from the other. Right? So to be seen is something that one is also wanting. So if I am in front and somebody doesn't see that my plate is still empty, how can there be, like, why does it have to be like a precondition? I'm just asking.
What I'm saying is that there is ignorance. There is ignorance. See, if the receptivity to all the right things was there, then education would have been very simple mechanism. It would have been successful much earlier. It's struggling so much. Because we don't understand that to receive any information, its value has to be felt. Without feeling the value of it, we don't receive it. And that is where the education, and that is where the raising the awareness is so important. So you can say things in very nice manner, very polite manner, but the person who doesn't value that thing will not be able to accept it. Might be considerate to you in the sense of listening to you, but will not be able to appreciate it. And it will not become part of it. We'll say, okay, yes, sorry, I'll keep it in mind next time. And the next time again we'll do this. Yeah.
Her question about singing and dancing and all that, I have some observations on that. Should I pick it now or?
Yeah.
Okay. So, the example was about a teacher who, when the children come to the class, he makes them sing and dance and all, and then starts the day. In action, that's what we see. Now, why he does that, or he or she does that, this is a normal practice aajkal, because they call it, for smaller children, they call it the play way. And everything is done with sing and dance and all that. So there could be two possibilities about how they view children, how they understand the child, whether the child's body as well as the child's psyche. If they feel that children only learn when they are excited or only when they are happy, and happy is equal to that high state, then also they will do the same thing. They'll say that all ABCDs should be in songs, all values should be in rhymes and jumping about and dancing and playing and all that.
The classrooms will be colorful.
And yeah, exactly. All TLM, all teaching learning material will be red and blue and bright yellow, and pictures will be with, all the illustrations in the books will have big eyes and, animated stuff. Yeah. That's the pedagogy which will develop from understanding the child as a person who learns through happiness equal to high state. But if they believe that the child has a lot of energy, right? So that needs to be utilized. Then also they'll do the same thing, na? They'll do the song and the dance and all that, but then the teaching pedagogy hogi, that will be in the calm state. Then the dancing and the playing and the jumping around is a means to get them, they've got a holistic understanding of the child, a little better understanding of the child. So in the end, you'll see this thing happening, but we don't know what the teacher is actually perceiving the child to be. So understanding of what is it, knowledge, janna manna,
knowing, believing, recognition and response.
So we had gone through these 4 things. How they know the child, or do they just have an incomplete belief of what the child is. And another, just a continuation on that. There's a friend of ours in Canada who made a book, and she makes songs and also for the children. She's a good teacher. So I was also brought up in, and did my B.Ed, and all the teaching learning material I've seen for children is all red and blue and yellow and purple, bright colors. And her book is all pastel shades, right? And I said, book to अच्छी है, story भी बहुत अच्छी है, colors थोड़े bright होते तो ज़्यादा अच्छा होता. But when I understood this, this observation part and how children actually respond to that calming down, and then only it is like what Gargi gave this word, serendipity. It was like this aha moment, oh yes, So all the teaching learning material should also be calm. The whole environment, जितना calm रहेगा उतना अच्छा.
By dancing and singing with the children, we are developing a rapport with them.
Yes,
so when that rapport is developed, they are excited in that state. But the learning will happen in the normal state. Now that the rapport has been done, what you say, they will observe more and they will be aware of that more. So that needs to be developed with the children. Otherwise, they will not listen to what you say.
So Bhaiya, in normal state,
keep it closer.
In normal state, we establish that.
Give the mic, I think this doesn't.
Our observation is optimal.
Yes.
So when our observation is optimal.
Just to qualify for it, up to our level of awareness.
Yeah, up to our. That's what I'm coming up to.
Yeah.
So observation is optimal till till the point where till the state of our awareness.
Yes.
Now, if we are looking at increasing the level of awareness, then it will come through knowledge, right?
Yes.
So when we are in high state, we are saying with little bit of practice, we can come to the normal state. Now, this normal state will also not end for long. Again, we will go to a high state or a low state because our consciousness is not, awareness is not complete right now.
Yes.
So, can we bring that and this awareness is about the higher purpose, like the human goal. And
not only the higher purpose, it's also about learning about yourself.
Yeah.
So you basically self-realization is also the ultimate thing.
Yeah.
Along with the self, see, we started with I
consciousness
am.
is I am and
The
rest
is.
of the world.
So self-realization is completion of self, I am, and the coexistence realization is the completion of knowing the world. So till these two are complete, this awareness level can increase.
And that will come with education, but after even after or it will be a 0-1, like after education it will come, or is it the domain of practicing after like?
Yes, there is a practice involved. There is a practice. Of course. So like for example, being considerate to people. So we first listen to the information. Then we go through that loop, no? Agreement, acceptance, then understanding. So between acceptance and understanding also there is practice. That's how you understand. Because I say be considerate. So you agree, yes, being considerate is right. But now you accept it, so you try to be considerate. So when you try to be considerate, you brought it into your conduct. But you don't get the desired result. So you do some corrections, then again try. So there is some practice involved. So the correction is not only the action, it is also how you are interpreting the consideration. So that practice goes on. So practice is also for learning and for, once you learned it, to hone it, to become one with it. What he was talking. Both the practices are. Yeah. He's saying? Yeah. Okay.
just correlating this with what we've already learned.
Yeah.
So here we are establishing that the normal state where our observation is optimal is the happiness wala zone. And previously we said, and somewhere we established that the proposal, in the proposal was there a mention of eternal happiness?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Lasting happiness.
Lasting happiness. So by definition, lasting happiness means constantly being in a normal state.
So if you're constantly aware,
Yeah.
then constantly happy.
So which means when we get to that,
Yeah.
there will be no highs and lows.
Exactly.
Okay. And we also said that in the wave aspect, you said it is through human.
Yeah.
So for me, which means for me to stay in the normal state, I need another human.
At least one.
So by myself, I cannot.
Not in this model.
Interesting.
Yes.
I mean, personally, I've also noticed for myself that if I'm, like, the more I'm in the normal state, the more I'm able to observe stuff, actually I find that so much more fulfilling and satisfying that I don't have the urge to do the other things. The other things don't actually feel nice to me now, like most of the time, not all of it. But I feel like the more we stay in the normal state, the more we kind of raise our level of awareness, I feel like the need for going to chase a high is diminished.
Yes.
This is so relieving because, I don't know, in many ways, because like I have been an ex-adrenaline junkie because I get my highs out of anywhere where you drop me from and into water and whatever, fast rides and all that.
Yeah.
And just a few days back, I was in a month in Beer and paragliding was on my list, bucket list, yes. And I did it like 2 days before I got here, only because it was on my list and I was feeling so bad that I'm not drawn to it.
Yes.
And there was that FOMO basically,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, and while I was doing it, I couldn't feel that rush that I felt when I jumped off the plane or bungee jump or river raft. I know because I know how that feeling is. And this time I just didn't feel a thing, but it was nice. I'm not saying I dipped into a low state, but I was just normal and that felt like as though something is off with me. And but now with this new definition, that's very interesting.
So how much time do we have?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. So then another. We just wanted to talk about this. So we talked about happiness as a. First we started that Jeevan's requirement is well-being or happiness, and we did characteristics of happiness. Then we did happiness is not exciting. Now, according to our level of awareness, we see happiness in 3 manners, depending on our level of awareness. The first one is what we call bodily happiness, where the interactions with your bodily sensations. Happiness is in sensations, and this is what we seek. That is one level of seeking happiness. Right? Then, the happiness of harmony in relationships. That is the second level of happiness. And third is the happiness of purpose, achieving the purpose, being aligned with the purpose, being one with the purpose. That is the eternal happiness. The happiness or harmony of relationships is the long duration happiness. And the happiness of the body sensation is short duration. It is the fleeting happiness. So this is the point I want to make. These are the 3 kinds of happinesses we can take.
So that's in a form of a slide, right? You don't need to notice that.
It is not in the form of slide, but it will be. There. Yesterday the election took away that time. I was going to make it, but I will make it.
What was the first thing? Body sensation.
Sensation, happiness from sensation.
We make it.
Bolo.
We just make it.
with us many.
For all you know, Shabima has done that already. Instead of copy paste.
Okay, let's go for tea. Yeah.
So, I mean, somewhere I feel like to be there in that line, you can be there in that line in a continuous process till you align with the purpose.
Yeah.
Till that, this highs and lows will go. So,
So
from that
you come
perspective,
there, you might come there for some time, but then again slip out. Then go there, then. So but to stay continuously you need.
yeah, so alignment with purpose is.
But that is achieved with knowledge and habit. It's actually easy. Which is not doable at least.
See, I think we are purpose. We are, when it becomes depressing, when you equate purpose with your actions. Purpose with intention comes first, right?
Yeah.
Intention से भी तो खुशी मिल सकता है. Action आएगा,
हाँ.
जब आएगा तब आएगा. But at least just knowing that, okay, my intention is lined with that purpose.
That is valid.
No, that's true.
Like,
I mean, this is my state. Like, for the last 2 years, I'm just trying to see that, because it's not happening.
That's why I called you for the work. Jim and Pashpa's experience as parents, and some people want to listen to their sharings on that. They'll be sharing today afternoon at 2 o'clock onwards for half an hour, 40 minutes or so in the same home. So those of you interested, feel free. So we were talking about whether happiness is an excited state or not. Right? So we had a good discussion on that. I think the message has gone through what we want to talk about. Spoiler alert. So while we were talking about this, and one thing I want to say now is, now that we've understood in a sense what you were saying, that these highs and lows are not bad things, first of all. So the problem with them is when we try to seek the highs and avoid the lows. And we are ignorant about the normal state. That is the problematic part. When we get together, we will laugh together, we will enjoy things together. That's all part of life. But keeping sight of our purpose is the more important thing. So we won't be like always straight faced and calm and not really, that's not the thing. So we will play games. We will again probably play Mafia again. Where is Kasim? We'll enjoy it also. But that is not something which will be able to seek all the time. Right? Our fulfillment is not going to come from that. That all we have to remember. That's all. So there is a balance. For understanding that balance is important. Sometimes there will be lows. Because there are situations in life and things like that. But getting stuck to them is the problem. Sometimes we just go into a vicious cycle of low. So there will be no fulfillment by staying in that. That you have to keep in mind. So, and if you are aware of your purpose, that really helps you bring back to the normalcy in both the sides. This is not the message that we have to avoid anything which is fun or anything which is part of life. It will come and go. But try to balance yourself. Come back to the seek the normalcy. That's the main thing. Okay. Yes.
Just to add to this, that it's not that excitement is bad or good. It's that it has a specific role to play. And if we understand that role, we'll see it as that. If we don't understand it, we might over-evaluate it, seek it more than it's possible to get it, or get disappointed because of that. So it's important and useful for us, even before we have maybe reached this complete clarity on our purpose and our ability to live along according to it, to recognize what this role of these excited states are in leading to that state or complete understanding of our purpose. So just like the negative excitements, we're very I mean, as we grow up, we all come to understand that, when we get hurt, if we didn't feel the pain of it, we wouldn't recognize that there's something that needs to be addressed over here. So similarly, if we feel sad about something, if we feel perturbed by something in any way, any sort of negative emotion, that's an indicator. If we don't have those indicators, then how would we be able to recognize that something's not quite right? So if we feel something wrong, we need to address that, take that as an indicator, not as a judgment on our being. Like, I'm sad, so I'm bad, or I'm a failure. That is the meaning we often give to it, and that makes it even worse. So we don't take it as it is. If we take the negative indicators as an indication of something to be addressed, then we can work towards addressing it. Often, and this reminds me of something Zag had talked about, when we we receive indicators and we don't address it, the indicators will become stronger. And again, we don't address it, it will become even stronger. So we might start thinking, this is just how life is, things just get worse and worse. But actually, it's the indicators telling us that listen louder and louder, listen, there's something to be done, and we're just not doing it. So we need to address those. Similarly, with the positive excited states, there's some role that positive excitement plays. I think it brings things into hyper-focus for a little bit of time. This is what I've been able to understand. Maybe there are more roles that it plays. When things come into hyper-focus, you can do some things very quickly, or you can be very, like I think what Arpan was talking about, be highly concentrated on a very small point. And in that space, you lose sight of other things. So you don't want that to continue, but sometimes you need that crystallization to occur, and for that it is useful. But it's useful for that, and after it's crystallized, then you should be able to come down and perspectivize it with your larger purpose, your larger values, and also be observant of yourself and others around you. So once we recognize the role of these highs and lows, we can take them as they are, instead of hoping for more or being disappointed that they are not more or less. And that makes it easy to live with them even today. They're actually aiding us on our journey to be constantly stable.
Yeah. So, just to reinforce that point, I'll take a quote from yesterday's documentary of Didi Contractor. When she was talking about the cement, she was saying the cement is like, the Mistris call it masala. So, the way she talks to them is like, this cement is masala, you don't make a sabji of only masala. Masala is only a little bit in it. So these highs and lows can't be the whole thing. Life can't only be about highs and lows. That is the main message. It's just like a sprinkling of masala which is needed once in a while, sometimes that is okay. But all the time seeking highs and trying to avoid lows, and that can't be the way of life. Yes.
When I used to talk to Huma Baba about Jeevan Vidya, and then I used to think that whoever studies it properly, they will basically become really boring people. Always say like, I consider normal as a very low thing, and you're always doing your work and you're alone and then you're studying about it. And then today I got to know that it's not actually that. You need to stay in your normal, but that doesn't mean that you need to. I consider normal as a low thing, not normal as a normal thing.
Maybe I want
I can see that on your face now that you are.
Yeah, then I saw Sheila Masi, and then I thought that no, she has studied Jeevan Vidya really well, but she is still like that. then I got a clarification.
Sometimes we take things too seriously and we don't realize the impact is happening in our surroundings. Okay, so moving ahead. So happiness, source, sensation, then the duration is momentary or fleeting. source values. We'll be talking about values a little later, more detail. Duration, long term. And then purpose, duration is eternal or permanent. And you can do this journey with awareness, then as your awareness increases. And awareness increases with the value education process. So the process for it is value education. Educating ourselves about values. So the value for Jeevan is purpose, finding its purpose. And fulfillment of purpose gives it happiness. So we'll be talking about values a lot more in detail. And so sensations you are aware of, values are whatever you value. Like in relationship, what we value trust, we value affection, we value love, respect, these things we value. So when we seek these in relationships, then when we achieve these, the happiness, resulting happiness is long term. That is what it is. Or in human nature, the value is of our patience, courage, and things like that. So these are long-term things which keep you in a happy state. Yes.
Something that I still don't understand, I mean, you were also talking, and I mean, eternal happiness. So, I mean, you say that if you are constantly in a normal state, it's the eternal happiness. But I mean, it is also related to the purpose, and is that the purpose? I mean, whether we achieve it or not, I think it will bring highs and lows, because I mean, you will have all sorts of questions how to achieve that purpose, and whether you will actually be able to achieve that purpose or not. So I think it will bring in highs and lows. So how will it lead to eternal happiness?
Highs and lows will be there in the body in form of sensation. Right? Like if we are running, our blood pressure will go, our heartbeat will increase, some sort of hormone will be secreted, various activities will be. But this whole thing that my body is going through this because I am doing this awareness is there. So you are not affected by it. Okay, you can observe it. Yeah. The body is going through these changes. This is needed. Right? That is what.
Yeah, you don't feel detached.
No, it's not a detachment. You have to evaluate. It is an evaluation, not detachment. Your detachment means I don't want anything to do with it. Whereas I'll use it as a tool whenever I need. I need to be fit, I need to run, I'll run. Right? I'll use it now with the knowledge of its utility. What Krishna said, there is utility to it. So I'll utilize it now. Not avoid it. That is it.
Can I get the mic? One more thing I want to clarify. In the previous one where we were talking about optimal observation state, sometimes body is sick or it is tired, or for example there is a lot of thoughts going on of something else, so I'm not able to pay attention or my awareness is low. So that would also be a normal state, or because in that state I am not able to.
Just repeat the statement you are saying and observe what you are saying. Say it loud.
The body is in a sick or tired state,
yes,
or the mind is engrossed in a lot of thoughts of something, so awareness is, so observation is not optimal due to these reasons.
Right.
Would this also be considered a normal state, or
how? I mean, if you look at the definition which you just said before asking.
Yeah, okay, I got it, yeah. I think I was relating it to the Jeevan part, but whereas now I see even the body can impact it. When you are tired, you need to give rest to the body, so that it can come back to a state when Jeevan can then optimally focus it. So it means that Jeevan cannot just independently focus on the situation or have observation, the body also has to be in an optimal state.
I think in one of the slides, one of the requirements of Jeevan had this body part house.
It was there.
Material need will not be fulfilled by the consciousness.
Physical.
But this is an interesting thing. I remember as a child, my father used to come in back from office around 6-7 o'clock. And at times we wanted to ask him for something which he usually didn't approve of, so we had to be patient. So my mother would always tell, don't ask him as he comes back. Let me give him some water, let him rest. And maybe have dinner, then talk. Right? Because when the body is tired and is affected by things, then your listening even is affected. The observation is affected, means listening is affected also. And the concern for the consideration for the other, the child needs something, is asking for something. So chances of irritability is much higher. So whenever you have to talk something which has potential of conflict, plus first feed that person properly. The hunger should not be there, tiredness should not be there, calmness should be there. Right? Then you can talk about it. This is essential but not sufficient, okay?
Yeah, it is.
I fed that person also and the rest of also still we ended up in a fight. Okay, moving ahead. So, human being's life has got 4 aspects of living. And in all these 4 aspects we need to feel fulfilled. One is the area of work, the other is the area of behavior, third is the intellect, and the fourth is the spiritual. Right? If we are struggling at the area of work or behavior, then spirituality aspect we are not even aware of. But at times this need keeps on popping up in our minds. Right? So the work is the occupational aspect, which is basically to do with fulfilling our material needs.
Facilities? Like facilities for?
For acquiring facilities, we need to do work. This we need to understand. Why do we need to work? So again, from the first breath to the last breath, we are consuming material goods. Every human child, from the first breath to the last breath, is a consumer of facilities. Food, definitely. Clothes, shelter, all these come with from some facilities. And it continues to our last breath. Once we die, then we are not consuming. Right? So, whole lifetime we are consuming. So, which is basically we are taking. And where are we getting it from? From our families. And where is the family getting it from? The society. So, we are taking from the society. So, and if you look at yourself, whenever you're getting something, you want to give back something. Because by nature, in a calm state or in a normal state, humans are just beings. They want justice. They want to be just with others. So you want to give back also. So you're utilizing facilities, so you need to contribute for some facilities. Maybe producing something or giving service in its production. So service in goods. So either production of some goods or contributing through your service. Now, if you look at a lifetime, say till the age of 15 or 16, we are not really capable of participating in the production. And later on in the old age also, we are not capable of participating. And in between, whenever we are sick, again we are not able to contribute at that time. So when we are healthy and able, it is only then we can participate in this. So, when we are healthy and able, at that time we have also to take care of the facilities that we took as a child and which we'll be utilizing later on as adults. So besides fulfilling our material needs, it is also a responsibility. Because I'm taking from the society, therefore it's my responsibility to give back. At least that much. That's why every human person with an able body needs to work. And work is not going and finding a job in some corporate or something. That is not the only form of work. There can be, making houses, that is also work. Making clothes is also work. Making food is also work. Right? Looking after people, things like that. So many, there are, you know the range of it. But the reason is also, because sometimes we only relate to it as to earn money. Why earn money? So that I can fulfill my material needs. So if I have enough money, I don't have to fulfill my material needs, then I don't need to work. This equation is there in our heads. So where is that money coming from? So sometimes I have accumulated, sometimes my ancestors have accumulated. But whether whoever is accumulated, I am a consumer. I have consumed that much. So we need to have a basic idea about how much a human being is consuming in their lifetime and how much natural splendor has gone into it. The natural materials, raw material comes from nature, and how much human effort has converted that raw material into a useful product. So it is my responsibility to return the favor. That is the reason to work. And till the time we realize this, the fulfillment factor will never be completed. That's why however amount of money we earn, even in the aspect of work, we don't feel fulfilled. So this has to be realized, that work is not only for earning, it is for contributing back for what you're consuming. That's a responsibility. So, and it can be in form of production, contributing production, or contributing as a service. Both are. The only thing we have to make sure is that it should be useful to the human. So participating in the war industry maybe is not work, because it's in the end meant for destruction. Or participating, like right now there are many call centers which do the scams and things like that, or making spurious drugs and things like that. None of us probably are in that. So that is what, that has to become part of education. The children need to realize from early that this is not work. Just making money by doing anything is not work. Work has always got to be useful for the human kind. So it has to be a useful product or a useful service. It can't be detrimental to the human kind, because it violates the main purpose. Yes, please.
How can we see then a soldier? I mean, he's.
Yeah, so these are present circumstances. This is how we are built our, whatever, our collectives are designed like this, that we are scared of each other and we are standing with arms. The whole lifetimes pass through that kind of lifestyle of carrying an arm and standing somewhere so that nobody attacks. But ideally, would you want, fear from your neighbors, or would you want a good relationship? If we have good relationship, we don't need guards or armed people, right? So it's a problem of bad relationship. So for the time being, I'm not saying we should take away all the soldiers and things. We should, while we have this, we should work for good relationships, not to increase these differences. That is the issue. Whereas right now, the mainstream is really working hard on keeping these differences alive, or making them bigger and bigger. So everybody is insecure. If everybody is insecure, they'll be dependent on certain systems, and those systems can keep making their profits. Okay? Yes. Can I complete this whole and then you ask? Then we come to behavior. Okay. Behavioral aspect is harmonious relationships between humans and humans. The fulfillment is in the harmonious relationships. Behavior here we define as all the activity in the human-human relationships. Work we define as all the activity in human nature relationships. Okay? But even in work, we don't work alone, we work with colleagues, right? So there is big aspect of behavior even there. Right? So even if we are, say, doing farming, we are talking to each other, helping each other. So there is some behavior aspect also there. Right? So behavior is all the activity in the human-human relationships. Right? And that fulfillment is if there is harmony. How is the harmony there? If we are fulfilling our share of responsibilities. Okay? And for this, we need to understand each other as human beings, and we need to understand the human purpose, and therefore the human society, therefore the human family and the relationships in reference to all this. And therefore your roles in them. And what roles you are doing, fulfilling the associated responsibilities of. These are important. Yes? Huh?
Responsibility.
Say now what will you take the mic.
And in our relationships, if we pay attention, then our responsibilities are not just the activities involved in those relationships. Our responsibilities are certain regards that we hold for each other.
Right.
So even if we fulfill the activities, but without that regard, that's not fulfilling our responsibility. Our responsibility is to hold each other in that regard.
So, like for example, sometimes parents feel that we have provided all the resources which are needed for the well-being of the child, given all the facilities, but still the child is not grateful, or the child is still not appreciating our effort. So maybe there's something on the part of the parent which is basically fulfilling the conscious needs of the child. That is missing. And similarly from the child aspect, I have done my work, I was told I have to take care of this task, I have done all those tasks, so why are you complaining? So even though you are doing the activity, that is not the end of it. There is a need in the parent for some regard. So am I addressing that? Sometimes attention is needed, sometimes care is needed, sometimes affection is needed. Am I aware of this? So this is part of responsibility in relationships. Okay? It's not just the act of doing something for them. It is also caring for them. Looking at them as human beings with the conscious needs, and the need, understanding the need to be understood, understanding the need for being able to relate to them. We want people to relate to us, our viewpoints, how we are thinking things, to appreciate us. All this is needed. Just look at it, what you need from the people around. These are the things we need for the conscious. So that is behavior. Yet this part is more important. That is the primary. When we say primary, that means it takes precedence over the other part. Whereas in current way of our living, this is mostly ignored. So we are living mechanical lives in that sense. We are trying to, wherever we feel we are fulfilling our responsibilities, it is in terms of the material needs that we are fulfilling. And we are ignorant about the conscious needs. And that's why our relationships are not giving us that feeling of fulfillment. So we need the feeling of fulfillment in work aspect as well as play. Then the intellect. The intellectual aspect is when we are looking at, the humans have this, we talked about this initially, that we have the ability to observe. Okay? So we observe something. But what we observe, what it means, this meaning part of our observation or of any event or any person or anything, this comes from our intellect, where we interpret things. Sequence of events, possible events, possible things which are happening, my plans, whatever. So we have an interpretation. So that interpretation, we are connecting things, we are playing with them. So a lot of things go on in our mind. This is all our intellect. Right? We analyze it, we compare it, we visualize it, we make plans, we memorize some parts. Right? All this is part of our intellect. Right? And this intellect we use primarily, the functioning of intellect is for discovering the meaning. So if we see something like, we see this here when we come to the room, then we wonder, why is this being done? It's very nice. Why don't we do it every day? Right? Or it is not looking nice, we can't walk here. Why was this done here? I mean, the interpretation comes from us, each observer. And the basis of interpretation is our prior knowledge, prior understanding. Right? And whatever the meaning that we draw from this, then the meaning that we conclude, that becomes the basis for our action. So if we find it useful, we'll encourage this. We'll say we must do it next time also. So that will happen. But if we find it pointless or we find it harmful, then we'll say no, this should not be done. This dirties of the place or this whatever. Right? So our intellect draws the meaning from this. And at times, what meaning we are drawing and the meaning the other person is drawing, these are same or sometimes they are not the same. And this affects our behavior. This affects our work. So there has to be a connection when two people have to get together, that my intellect and your intellect, it has to synchronize somehow in certain areas of overlaps. My intellect and your intellect has to synchronize. We need to be able to see things in a similar manner, understand things in a similar manner, draw the same meaning out of something, to work together, to behave together, to live together. That's the problem, no? We face every day. Huh? Applies to any relationship. Relationship or no relationship, we are there. But if two human beings are there, if they want to continue together, for say we are taking the same bus. Now everything which we are doing, sitting on the side seats, we have to interpret in some commonality. So there has to be some common basis. So suppose we take civility as a common basis, then both will be in tune with each other. But if we don't have civility as the common basis, like I'm bigger than you, so I'll take more space, or I won't let you put the elbow, all that happens. So all this is there, the discord is because the meanings we are interpreting in our intellect are different. How is the intellect fulfilled? Intellect is fulfilled when there is complete meaning which is there in the intellect regarding all the things, like what am I, what is this world, what is happy living. When this meaning is there and we are able to evidence it in our conduct. then only is the intellect complete, not before that. For example, you think, okay, this child is creating trouble, so I'll scold it. And this will do the correction. So this is the meaning you have drawn on basis of some prior knowledge, some observation. And then you do the action, but the result is not according to what you thought. So you feel unfulfilled. So now course correction is needed or something. So sometimes we feel, maybe I did not implement it. I'll talk about this in detail in the next diagram. So the intellect is fulfilled by getting the meaning of life, meaning of existence. Anything less than that will not fulfill. Or however hard we might try. And it will keep on indicating to us, this is not complete. And the indications will also, this is the indication which will come in from inside, that this is not complete, there is something missing. And the indications will come out from outside because the conduct will result in events which are not harmonious.
Small clarification. The example you said of a bus.
Take the mic, pass the mic.
Sorry.
Example you took of bus civility. So both people have to have it.
So let's for the time being understand this, that there are two people, right? So ideal situation is both. But suppose even one person is civil, we can get along with things. Right? So let's just think about, right now the context is, what is intellect trying to understand? Or how the fulfillment comes. What we're talking about is the behavior part. That we'll discuss more in when we talk about human conduct.
Intellect wants to understand common definition, like universal meaning of civility, let's say.
Intellect's need is meaning. Meaning of what? So meaning of everything. So fundamentally if you look at it, meaning of I and the meaning of the word and what is happening. That meaning it.
Relevance.
Huh?
Relevance.
Relevance. Meaning is drawn from looking at the relevance of things, the context of things. Meaning is drawn from the purpose of things. Meaning is drawn from the causality of things. So all this helps us draw the meaning. These are all the exercises of intellect. When you seek purpose, when you seek causality, when you seek essence of things, right? This is all basically an intellectual exercise. And anything which is doing this exercise, that entity, that part of our conscience which is doing, it is doing to be fulfilled. So whenever we discover some meaning, it gives us a good feeling. And it gives us, okay, this is nice. But after some time we think, no, there is something more. This is okay, but I need some more. So we keep on doing, making meaning of things, interpreting meaning of things. Now, first let me complete. And spiritualism or spiritual aspect, this also needs fulfillment. Here we are defining spiritualism as basically realizing the fundamentals. Right? Fundamental of my existence, fundamental of the existence of this whole universe. These. So this part you will find common with the intellect. Intellect takes the meaning from the spiritual aspect of these three fundamental things. These three questions that we said were the domain of knowledge. So finally knowledge is seated in our spiritual aspect. Intellect doesn't have the knowledge. Knowledge is actually, the seed is our spiritual aspect. Knowing. being aware of the fundamental aspects takes place in our spiritual aspect.
Can you just explain it once again, the spiritual part?
Yes.
Because the intellect also is...
So, intellect has the need for the meaning, right? And the meaning comes from whatever we think of I am, the world is, and what is happiness. These three things. So, intellect will always function with something, some meaning of that. Whether there is awareness of these actual meanings or not, it will take some meaning, assume meanings, and it will function with that. That's the limitation of the intellect. It doesn't have the ability to know the reality. The ability to know the reality is there in our spiritual aspect.
Maybe spiritual is knowing and intellect is implementing.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Take the mic. Pass the mic.
Yeah, it's basically what Dimple just said, that the questions we had started out with were of what am I, what is the world, what is happiness, but what consists of two parts. There's a why.
Hold it in a different place.
And there's a how. So the why part of it lies in the spiritual dimension, and the how part of it lies in the intellectual.
Is it Vishnu?
You might want to also point out that the definition of knowledge is information plus understanding. It's not information, it's the understanding of information, which is what you define as knowledge. Right?
So knowledge is even beyond understanding. Actually, it is recognition of reality.
And evidence. Yeah?
Evidence is I recognize the reality, and the evidence of that I produce through my conduct by aligning myself. That is the evidence of it. Just seeing yourself as a conscious being and realizing that fully what our conscious being is, this is knowledge. Knowing it, this is so. That is knowledge. Now, once I know this, my functioning becomes aligned with it. Once my functioning becomes aligned with it, my conduct would be aligned with it. Therefore, there will be evidence that I know. Yes. Okay. So, spiritual aspect is knowing those three things. What am I? What is this world? And what is happiness? It only deals about this. Another way of looking at it is recognizing the existential principles, existential laws governing the reality. So there are two parts to it. One is what exists and what principles govern it. These are the two parts of knowledge. Like in the materialism philosophy, they say matter exists. Right? And all that you see is basically activity of matter. And why is it doing anything? The principle is struggle. Okay. In spiritualism or idealism, what we are saying, that God exists and all that you see is God's creation. And why is it happening? The principle governing is the divine will. Okay. Now, here also we are going to talk about this when we go into the coexistential order part, which will be a little later. I have to complete the study of human beings and study of Jeevan a little bit more. Then we will go into that part. But we'll be addressing it.
I mean, maybe not now, whenever. I still not able to understand what is the purpose for distinguishing intellect and spiritual, because you're right that I understand the information that you're giving. I'm just not able to understand if it's happening inside of you. Even this information that in the idealism, the world is by the divine will. The reason for everything is the divine will. Both of this is information. So I'm still not able to distinguish what is the purpose of, I can know the answer to these three questions as information as well, and wouldn't that remain in my intellectual realm? What is the purpose of distinguishing the two?
So the purpose of distinguishing the two is that right now our awareness is only up to intellect. Our spiritual aspect is God. So when we say the meaning of, say, what I am is this. So it is, as an intellectual exercise, we acknowledge it. But the knowing part doesn't take place. So it's just a more evolved believing. With some reasoning, we are only believing. We are actually not seeing. It is like actually being in front of it and seeing it. Knowing is that. So for that, there is another faculty within us. Because we have not utilized it, therefore it is dormant. But when its need arises, then it becomes. We do it in the next diagram that we do. Then you will see how it happens.
Can you also say that spiritual is a source of knowledge? Intellect is personalizing it. Me making sense of it.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Just a clarification question. When you said spiritual has two parts, the knowledge has two parts. So what I understood was ability. It's like first part is to see the reality as it is.
So what exists?
What exists?
Fundamentally.
What is there?
And
the second part was the laws.
What governs it?
What governs it? These are the things.
So some principle governs.
And again, more of a clarifying thing so that my understanding. So intellect part is, as you said in the beginning, it will never be empty. Those three questions will never be empty.
Exactly.
So intellect will operate, so we'll keep on operating with the even our ignorant thing. So it will keep on operating.
So either with assumption or knowledge.
Knowledge.
So intellect will function either on basis of assumptions or knowledge. The seat of knowledge is spiritual aspect. So either spiritual aspect is fulfilled, then the functioning of intellect will be on basis of knowledge, therefore it will also be fulfilled. Therefore our behavior and work will also be fulfilled. Otherwise, when it's only on assumption, then intellect will be unfulfilled. Therefore our behavior and work will always be falling short of fulfillment. Might to go back to Arthan also. You asked before you read.
And seeing of reality will always be in completeness. It won't be in parts.
Yes. Yes, sir.
So here we are proposing that this is common to all human beings.
Yes.
Irrespective.
All.
But then why do we observe that these questions, what am I doing here? These are not very prevalent, or like for example, all of us came here because there were some questions in our life, but it's not very it's not common. Why is it that?
Different levels of awareness, conscious functions at different levels of awareness.
So, is it a factor of something?
Huh? It is a factor of knowledge.
No, but then some questions are there from the right. बच्चों में भी होता है.
Right.
Like some kids.
Naturally have this question.
Naturally have this.
So they have awareness for some due to some circumstances or whatever.
What I understand, what he's trying to ask, and it's my question also, that some people, I felt like I had many more questions than my own sister coming up and saying household.
Yeah.
So what causes that is something. Like even at a young age, I had way more questions than people around, and I felt that they felt that, oh, what are you even asking? All that kind of things. And a lot of friends I saw.
Yeah.
So why that happens is something.
Yeah. The difference is there because as observers, we function from some perspective. And starting point of perspectives are very different. And that is also part of human journey to coming to some common perspectives also. One part is that. So we all are observers. We're sitting in this room. We're listening to the same thing. We're interpreting it differently. Why? Because we have different perspectives. Okay. Now, the other part is there are some journeys that we have completed till now. Right? So there are whatever level of awareness we are there within us, our queries are in tune to that. So our tendencies are tuned to that. So therefore our tendencies are different from beginning itself. Those kind of things. Whatever we have completed in awareness, that awareness stays with you. Not the memories, not the words, not the tangible parts. And not even the most of the abstract part. Only the most essential tendencies stay.
Can I?
Yeah.
I think even within children, I think what I've noticed is that all children are curious. What they're curious about and which area they're curious in differs, but they're all curious to begin with. Slowly we tell them that it's better not to be this inquisitive and just to go along with things.
We dumb them down.
Yeah, I mean we tell them to distract themselves from their basic tendencies, which is what we were earlier talking about also. If we can't handle pain, we try to distract ourselves from it. If we can't handle questions, we tell ourselves to distract ourselves from it. This is not important, this is something this is something that shakes us up, so we need to move away from it. So I think all children are curious in different areas, and what area a child becomes curious in, I think really depends very heavily also on the kind of environment it has. And very small things can make a difference.
Yeah.
You can have a very pleasant, very short experience with a little baby and show him a butterfly, and suddenly it will cause wonder in them, and suddenly they're now from that point onwards they're just constantly in wonder of nature and beauty. Or have a small interaction where you play some simple beats and they enjoy it a lot with you. And then after that point onwards, they're just very inclined towards rhythms and beats and music and things like that. So I think very simple things like that, very momentous, simple occasions in children's lives also predispose them to certain areas. And that is the power we have as parents and guardians and educators.
Yeah, but there is also another big factor in this. There will always be two things for any development to take place. One is the environmental factor, which is like parents or circumstances or whatever, family environment. But there is also the drive, the motivations of the child. And that comes from their perspective, their tendencies. And those, why there is uniqueness in them, there are two answers to that. One I gave you already, which is like, this could be a part of the earlier journey, but there is another important factor there is that these perspectives are not complete from birth. Okay. So anything which is incomplete, even if you take 10 samples, 20 samples, 1,000 samples, in incompleteness there is never uniformity. There is always the diversity. So they are different perspectives. So somebody is interested more in physical things, somebody is more interested in other things. So like that, these diverse perspectives are there also because we don't start our journeys with the complete perspective. The completion will only come through education, when the spiritual aspect is complete. Then only our perspectives of harmony will be complete. So whenever something is incomplete, it can have many forms, no? It is not necessary to have the same incompleteness in every way.
One clarification on this. So what I'm hearing is, one is what we get from our previous journeys, different uniqueness and all. And second is perspective. This perspective, when a child is born, is coming now when they are born, right? It can be incomplete. It is not coming from.
Yes. Yeah. Dimple, you want to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like an extension to what Trishna was saying. It also depends on the observation part of the child.
child, like how much we let them observe. Like Sandhya, I and Dugu being from the same family, but we observe things very differently, and our area of focus is very different. I being the most dormant, I think. So Dugu is like, even if we walk on the road, on the same path, when three of us are walking, she would easily spot a ladybug, and which we wouldn't. She would easily spot a worm, which we wouldn't. And Sandhya also some more lesser than her, but more into nature, and I am the least. And for example, yesterday or the day before also, when Sandhya came and she observed the door was locked, the office door was locked, I was totally attuned to it. Like I didn't pay any attention whosoever what thing is lost. I'm as it is into myself more. So she said usually it is not their practice to lock the door. It is just one incident that I'm sharing. So some people are naturally more observant of the surroundings, which I feel in my case I am more observant of my own self. So I think that way also it differs.
Yeah. So perspectives differ from childhood. So even twins will have different perspectives. And that's why the personalities evolve differently. Because perspectives are there in the conscious. Even though the identicality is in the biology, not in the conscious. The perspectives are different.
I just want to ask one thing. In the two aspects of qualities of in human beings, the free will and the imagination, have we talked about that?
No, we're just about to start after this. We just mentioned it once, but we have talked about that.
I think that might address also.
Yeah.
Connect.
Okay, so these are the four aspects where we need fulfillment. And going on. So dimensions of behavior and work in humans are expressed through the body. So this is also, we have to see that whatever we do with the other fellow human beings, that is behavior, is expressed through the body. Whatever we do with the nature is also expressed through the body. The intellectual and spiritual dimensions in humans exist in the Jeevan. That is in the conscious. So behavior and work is as a human being, but intellect and spiritual aspects are in the Jeevan of the human.
The behavior and the work are the expressions of the intellect.
Yes, through the body. Dimensions of work and behavior are governed by the intellectual dimension. The intellectual dimension can have complete clarity only in the light of awakened spiritual dimension. So, let's do an exercise. I got a suggestion, very good suggestion of how to proceed in this. And I want to try it out because it really appealed to me. So I'll take this slide, you note it, see it, and I'll explain what I have to say in this. Any questions are coming, write them down. I'll go to the next one because they are interconnected 3-4 slides now. And when I've finished with them, then whatever questions you have noted down, we'll take them. Okay? Because most of the questions will be answered as we go down. So, and we'll give you time to reflect also. Awakening of one spiritual dimension is only possible through dedicated study of God. So this is the final point. And another request in this is, I'll only take questions which are written down. Yeah, read it and answer. Why that is important, and I understood the reason from the person who suggested it. When we have to speak, we can speak anything. But when we have to write down, we have to really formulate it properly. So a lot of thinking happens and then we write it down. While speaking, we can be loose, very loose. So that will help in making a progress. Okay?
We approve.
Okay, shall we move ahead to the next? So, as human beings, we have two powers: power of imagination and power of willful action, or free will, which we call free will. So these are the two powers that we have. What is this power of imagination? This power of imagination is that we can, everything that we do or not do, before that there is something which is happening in our mind. And this we are calling our imagination. It is the functioning of our intellect, basically. Right? So whether you're analyzing, whether you're comparing, whether you're visualizing, whether you're planning, right? Whether you're thinking about something in future which is making you fearful or making you feel, I need to do this. All this is happening in your imagination. So before any action, there is imagination. Imagination functions in two ways. One is, it is the pre-state of action, of conduct, any conduct that we do, like I'm speaking. Before this, my intellectual aspect is functioning as my imagination is working, what words I have to go say, and because I'm used to it, it flows. Right? But it is part of my imagination. Right? Second part is, like I prepared this presentation. This is also through my imagination. How will this get communicated? What points I have to put on the slide? How will I speak about it? All this is first in imagination, and then it is the materialized, right? Actualized. The definition of human being. So all these designs are there in the imagination. The other part is, it is also learning. So it is also understanding meanings of things. So whatever we observe, we try to interpret the meaning. So interpretation or perceptions, these are also happening in our imagination. So it's one of the most powerful things of a human being. The power of imagination. It is what governs us. And we keep on playing around with it, making meaning of it. And we see what I'm saying and it is not connecting, like you were not able to hear this part properly. So immediately use your power of willful action and ask the question, repeat it. So all actions, whether it is speaking or doing, they all are coming through power of willful action. Whatever you're exercising through your body is based on your power of willful action. You're free to do what you want to do. So what happens in normal course of life is that we keep imagining things. But for imagination, whatever is happening in our intellect, there is always some basis. There is some frame of references that we have made during our journey of life. Whether through educational process, whether through our experiences, whether through our reading books or whatever. So we have some references through which we make meaning of things. So let's call this world of imagination our virtual world. Okay? Where imagined assumed laws, regulation and balance are found. Okay? So in this virtual world, the conditions, how things will happen, why things will happen, what will happen if I do this and what will happen, there are some laws governing it, and because of my incomplete knowledge, I have put fillers in it. My assumed reasons for it. These are fillers, because they can't be empty. So I use some fillers through my assumptions, through half my knowledge. Probably this will happen, or this is what is going to happen. This is why it will happen. These are fillers. When we don't know, when we get to use fillers. These I am calling assumed laws, regulation, balance, or balance. Right? Because, for example, the example I was taking, like I'll scold the child, and they will correct its behavior. Now this is a assumed law, principle. Scolding leads to correction. And a lot of us have this assumption. Right? Punishment leads to correction of behavior. It is so ingrained that we have this in our constitutions. Right? Similarly, how do you regulate people? Imposition regulates people. This is again a principle that we have in our imagination. So we should always have strong laws. The government must do this. All this comes from where? The regulation comes from imposition. Right? And the third, for every positive there is a negative. That's how things get balanced. Opposing forces balance things. So we have imagined balance in a certain way. Right? And these kind of things we use as philosophy of life and do our actions. This is what determines our conduct. Right? But when we do action, the action is not taking place in the imagination, this grey. It is taking place in the real world, which is the white area, where natural laws, natural regulation and natural balance are happening. This won't happen according to what I imagine. It will only happen what governs it, actually governs it. We'll take an example, which is very simple. That's why I picked this up. Okay? So I can imagine if I hold this like this and I leave it, it will still stay here. Can I imagine that?
Yes, you can.
I can imagine it. So I'm imagining it. And my imagination is still there. But in the real world, the real laws govern it. Law of gravitation governs it. It will fall. So there is a problem here. There is a gap. What I'm imagining and what is happening, there is a gap. So now there are only two possibilities. Either I change this real world to function according to my imagined laws and regulation and balance. I can attempt that. In fact, this is what we are trying to do. We are trying to modify everything according to our imagination. The tree should not grow like this, they should grow like that. You know? That's why we are genetically modifying it. The tomato should not be red, they should be green. These are all our imagined things that we are trying to convert the real world to become in accordance with our imagined things. That is one thing. But the problem with that is, I am changing the real world according to my imagination. But there you are with your imagination. You also want to change. And you are also there, and you are also there, and you are also there. So we all are fighting how to change. So like for example, a family. Like a family. As a family, you want to make a child grow up to a nice human being. And then we fight over it. Right? Because I want to modify this child like this. No, the child is this, the child is that, and it can be this and that. So most parenting, there are a lot of conflicts. Not all. Not here, not people like you. Anyway, so that is one thing that one can try. Oh, the battery is on. 15, 20 minutes early. Anyway, so this. Huh?
That's your imagination.
Okay. So we've tried this for centuries now. Since the time we've been here, we are trying to modify this world according to our imaginations. So we realized one can't do it, so we group together and we would think alike. We will modify it like this. No, we will
The
modify
power
it.
is back.
It's back.
It's back. Yes.
Second option you mentioned is changeable.
So this we've been trying for thousands of years, not hundreds, thousands of years. since the time human beings have been on this planet. So, if we still have hope with that, we can still continue doing it. There is no problem with that. But the other option, there is another option. Maybe we could align our imagination according to the real world. Maybe we could take these and establish them here.
Copy paste. Copy paste.
Copy paste. Or should I complete? First let me complete. And write it down. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So what happens is, we have an idea. Let's do this. We do. So like that example of scolding the child. So that is the action. In action will either be work or behavior. So that's a behavior, which gives a result. We scolded the child. The result could be my scolding did make this child correct that action. So what happens then? It is acceptable result, happiness, I feel happy. But if it is the child stops talking to me, doesn't correct the action and even stops talking, it is unacceptable result. That leads to unhappiness. What is this part? This is my observing the result. The conscious also observes the result. This is the evaluation of my action. This part we are not aware of. We always do this. Right? This is the feedback mechanism. Okay, this didn't work. This red arrow is there. It shows this did not work. If this is happening, it works. Right? So if it doesn't work, the first thing we try to address is this. Maybe this action I did not do it properly. So implementation problem. So maybe I should have scolded louder. Maybe I should have slapped also longer. Right?
Or the other way around.
Or the other way around. Maybe I should have scolded lighter. You know, maybe more softer voice or something like. Think like that. Either way. So the course correction, first we try to change the action. But after some time we realize maybe this action is not the problem, this idea itself is the problem. Then we need an alternative. Different idea. Because this issue is still here, I have to do this. This action is needed because I am feeling some need. And this action, this idea is not fulfilling that need. So I need a different idea to fulfill that need. So I come up with a different idea. I should leave the child alone, they will learn on their own. Okay. Again, this idea is germinating from here on. Again, I do something like that, and whatever result comes, maybe it is not acceptable to me again. Then the new idea I bring in, again it is germinating from. So you can germinate n number of ideas, they'll mostly fall short. And we get stuck in this endless loop. So sometimes this clicks. So we see the glimpse of how it works, but most of the time this is the thing. And this, because of this, there is always confusion. What is the right thing to do? This is the state of the individual that we were talking about, lack of clarity. Regulation is basically when we are functioning with many. So the conduct has to align with the others.
Here it's not natural regulation, it's like regulation.
Down here, natural word is with laws, natural word is regulation, natural word is with balance.
So it's not that humans, what regulations humans have created.
No, that is imagined. Any law is imagined law. A penal code is an imagined thing. Our constitution is an imagined thing. We are talking about existential laws. Just like the law of gravitation or law of thermodynamics, there are laws of behavior. There are laws for intellect. So here we are giving the proposal that this, if we focus our imagination on the real world and learn the existential laws of regulation, balance, then things can improve, change. The proposal here is that we study the reality with the help of our body and power of imagination. This awakens our spiritual aspect. And the spiritual aspect, by studying, through the study, the spiritual aspect becomes awakened and it has these natural laws and regulations. The cognition takes place. The cognition actually takes place in the spiritual aspect. And this in turn impacts the imagination. And which now becomes in form of the real world. So this was grey, this is turned white. I'll just repeat that animation. So now what happens is, every idea which is germinating here is coming from this, which is reflection of this only. So, idea is in harmony, action is in harmony, therefore the result is in harmony, and this is the cycle of continuous growth. Lasting happiness. Now let's take a few minutes, 5-7 minutes. Just observe it, what you heard, what you see of it. And if there are any questions, just note them down. So the important thing to note in this is, even to study the reality, the power of imagination and power of willful action have to be utilized. First, the decision I want to study has to take place, then we have to do the process. And through that process, whatever inputs are coming, we have to arrange them in our imagination, we have to understand them, analyze them, compare them, conclude them. All this is happening in our mind. So even for study, these two powers are active. And then only when it is well connected will the spiritual aspect awake. But this is one-time process. So the proposal here is, like for a human child, by the age of 16, 17, this should happen. And then they can live. Yeah. And then they'll live the rest of their life. 10 to 12 years old. Maybe right now it might take much longer because our conditioning is like that. It will be more time consuming. It might be by age of 20, 25, whatever. That doesn't matter. So this process has to take place in our life. Then we can live our life continuously in this way. So like any study, it is one-time process. Then rest is collaboration. So, if I were to use the word mindful, then before realization of the spiritual aspect, if we have to collaborate, we have to be very mindful and then collaborate. After spiritual awakening, mindfulness is our character, it is our nature. Then there is no effort involved. Right now, before that, it is effortful mindfulness. So in the Hindi, the languages, समझदारी से पहले ध्यान लगाना पड़ता है, या ध्यान देना पड़ता है. समझदारी के बाद ध्यान लगा रहता है. You don't have to do it actively. It becomes part of your nature. You do everything attentively. Mind. It's just similar to that example of learning how to ride a bicycle. Initially, you have to, when you have to ride the bicycle, you have to be very careful, very attentive. It's an effort. But once you're used to it, then it's effortless. You move from one point to the other. It's time, no? Yeah, you want to say something? Pass the mic to you.
And here we can also
hold it from different place, yeah.
Here we can also see the role of that positive excited state. It brings us into hyper focus like when we're riding a bicycle. We're not paying attention to how the people on the side of the road are feeling or what my family at home is feeling or anything like that. But we're focusing specifically on that task of learning how to ride a bike. So we need that hyper focus for learning how to ride it for the first time. Then we can go back and ride it and be mindful while riding it. Then our attention, that doesn't need our attention anymore.
Once you learned it, then you observe everything around. Yes. We'll do the questions after we come back because it's lunch time already. Right? So we get back at 3 o'clock? Huh? Yeah, sorry, 2 o'clock. So this session will start at 3 and Pashwa's session will happen at 3.
Can we see the dimensions? What is like 4 dimensions?
Aspects. 4 aspects of, yeah.
No, that, another, next one. Yeah, that's how she's educated.